What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, we kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the
Better clear your social media history before you start coming over here to Trumplandia, which you need to worry about. Not a fucking driver's license. I've seen the way you look at Americans driving. Are you driving with your knees? Yeah. Welcome to America, the land of freedom. That's part of the tests. I hope you know that. Driving with your knees and texting with both hands.
And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
Better grow them. I don't know what to tell you.
Wake to back to the pack, kill it anyway.
Let me start Facebook. The timer's way off tonight. I fucked it up. So it'll go off in a little bit after I get Facebook started. Refresh. Change accounts. The hell? Facebook? Come on. Come on, Facebook. There it is. Lock. Change accounts. Like, share. Hurry up, Facebook. Jesus Christ. What is going on? There we go. Cornstarr Justice. Let's hit it. Oh, I need to check the chat, right? There we go.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I am Will Bard, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Now, it's not often grifters face justice, but sometimes they do. Let's see if we can figure this out. Give me a second. All right, here we go. So, you guys remember Faith DeLuca, Madison Marquette, Madison Mesquia. She married, so she was a grifter. She was a porn star. Then she said that she found God in the prison. Then she got raped in prison. Then she came out. Then she claimed she had a secret agency that rescued children. And she had this sob story about this kid that she kidnapped from his family. Then she came out and said that she was a lawyer, but she never went to school to be a lawyer. Instead, she did an internship and became a lawyer in Washington, D.C. Then I busted her on that, and David Nino called her out for it. She said, no, I meant Washington State. Also not Washington State. Finally, she caught wind that I was covering everything after the Nino thing. She found me after that because obviously Nino got that information from somewhere. And she came after me and my wife, Lavada, beautiful Lavada, and not only did she contact everybody on my Facebook that's listed themselves as family, which I think is stupid. I wish people wouldn't list me as family on Facebook, but I can't stop it either. Like they can just go on their thing and list me as family, whatever. Anyways, she messaged all my family, told them that I was a pedophile and that she was going to have me arrested and that I used her name, which means we entered in a legally binding contract and she was going to seize all their assets and take their house and blah, blah, blah. And she was just warning everybody, whatever. Oh, did we freeze? Oh, we're unfroze. And she was just warning everybody. I need to reboot. She was just warning everybody ahead of time that like, hey, I'm going to take everything from you because this guy said my name. She put claims, like she tried to put claims against me and Lavada, which was weird. Well, then she marries a pedophile. Oh, a pedophile that's not only a convicted pedophile, but he's like appealed multiple times and it's been upheld every fucking time. She tries to get conjugal visits and him an iPad, and she starts going after this fucking prison. And at the same time, anybody that's calling her out, she is filing these liens against their homes, okay? Liens against any business assets they have, and basically claiming that she has a legal way to seize your assets because you used her name and her name is copywritten. Yeah, a pedophile, such a prolific pedophile, he's serving life in prison. Like, that seems like a pretty hardcore pedophile. Anyways, all of that happens. Finally, so the state of Texas has been cracking down on this. Hold on. The sovereign citizen movement has latched onto this, the Madison Marquette thing, okay? That you can file liens against anybody that uses your name because you own your name and blah, 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 right? The state of Texas noticed this because they've got a lot of sovereign citizens, and they've had citizens complaining like, hey, people are filing these UCC financial statements against me, and I don't even know who the fuck they are. They just claim I used their name or I offended them in some way or blah, 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 and they're filing claims against me, and anybody can get on this database and do it. And I don't know if it goes to my credit. I don't know what it does, but it's bothering me. People shouldn't be allowed to use fraudulent UCC claims. The state of Texas passed a law recently, last year. I mentioned it, but I didn't really cover it. Basically, it was to help crack down on this, they opened an investigative division about it, and they passed a law, Senate Bill 2221, I believe, that said that any debtor, so anybody that has one of these liens filed against them, can file an affidavit under penalty of perjury to challenge any baseless or fake UCC1 financing statement. Then their filing office will remove those fraudulent statements after 30 days unless the secured party, which means the person who filed it, challenges the termination in court with evidence. So they'd have to show up in court with evidence. They also pass some stuff about liability and who's liable for that, especially if it's a fraudulent claim. It would be Madison Marquette. She'd be liable for it. So it's better for her not to show up in court when people challenge this because she knows they're fraudulent, right? It's like a sovereign citizen bullshit thing. She knows they're fraudulent. If she shows up, then they can hold her liable for a lot of it. Well, they started looking at people who's filed a lot of these UCC claims, and it just so happens that one of those people happened to be Madison Marquette. Faith DeLucia, as seen in what is it, Splattered and Baby Battered 3, 4, and 6. I mean, she does have a resume. This is the Mind of Booma. Oh, I gotta get you some audio. Hold on. I'm an idiot.
Dorian Russell. Let's separate the records.
D Boomba is what I used to call him, but it says D Mind of Booma San.
She told people that saying her name put them under contract, that she could bill them for it, but a piece of paper made it law. A Walker County jury just disagreed on all 4 counts. Today, she is a convicted felon with a 10-year sentence, and the only paper that matters now is a judge.
Dude, Splattered and Baby Battered, I used to have a full subscription to it until she entered the picture, and then I was like, oh, no, I don't want to get a UCC filing against me, so I had to cancel my account.
I'm Dorian Russell. What's up?
Also, I've got something to show you guys. Today, I showed up at my office, and I don't think this is a coincidence. Okay? You tell me this isn't a threat. You see this? Leaning right up against my building, right in front of my door, this. It's more green. I got a green screen on. It's more green than gray, but still. Okay? What were they aiming to do with this? You think this is part of Bort's master plan? I like the shape of it. It's a goddamn zucchini. And I will not be silenced. Okay? I don't know who's doing this, but I'm coming for you. I swear to God, this was just left at my door. I have no idea. My Ring camera didn't even pick it up. Maybe it was a ghost, a zucchini farming ghost. I don't know.
Separate the records from the noise.
I posted a picture of it. It wasn't even just like it fell over. Like it was leaning up against my door. Or like up against the wall beside my door. Hold on, here's the image. This is exactly how I found it when I pulled in and I sent a picture to Mariah. And I was like, what the fuck? Who leaned this up? Like it didn't fall. It didn't drop. Somebody leaned it up there. Like it had an attitude, like a fucking greaser up against the wall. Like what the fuck is that? Somebody's trying to send a message, I believe. I have been spreading the rumor that I'm allergic to zucchinis. And then at Suko, listen to this. I've been spreading the rumor that I'm allergic to zucchinis. And then every fucking day, spicy-ass Tuco has been asking, are you itchy yet? Are you itchy yet? Are you itchy yet? Maybe this was her master plan. She's coming to the States. Maybe it's for my funeral. You ever thought of that?
Quick ground rule before we start, because it's the whole point of this On the Record series. Every claim gets graded by how hard the proof is.
All right, so this guy lays out the way he's going to talk about this. So he'll have tier 1 is a court record.
Caption or just reported. I'll tell you.
Tier 2 will be a documentary, a strong documentary evidence. And tier 3 is just rumors, okay? He does a good job laying out, like, how strong is each portion of the evidence.
Which is which as we go, because that's the difference between a true verification method and just another rumor with good lighting. First, who we're talking about here, because the name keeps changing. The court paper has settled on Madison Ray Hendricks for the criminal case, but a 2024 civil suit lists her 5 ways at once: Masili, Hendricks, Marquette, Stacey Dawn Williams, and Faith DeLuca.
Okay. This Faith DeLuca was just her porn name. But it's very funny that they got that listed as an alias, right? Isn't that funny? I would hate to go to court one day and it says like, Will Bird, Wildo the Dildo, Big Dick Daddy from Cincinnati, a.k.a. Big BDD FC. It's going to happen one day, so... Madison Masili is the pedo she married. Madison Hendricks is her actual name. Madison Marquette is her pen name that she used on the internet. Stacey Dawn Williams was her given name when she was born, but she changed it to Madison Hendricks. And Faith DeLuca is her porn name.
1 person, 5 names on the filing. Here's the firmest thing in the whole story, and it's no longer a charge, it's a verdict. On April 16th, 2026, a walk...
Retaliation, 3rd-degree felony, convicted. Retaliation, 3rd-degree felony, convicted. Retaliation, 3rd-degree felony, convicted. Retaliation, 3rd-degree felony, convicted. 4 counts. 4 felony counts of retaliation, convicted.
Walker County jury convicted Madison Ray Hendricks on 4 counts of retaliation. The judge sentenced her the same day. 10 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
Ooh, damn. 10 years. I think she got like a 273 days of good credit because she's been sitting in jail for almost a year. That's why other people have been running her page and begging for money, or her news page. 10 years and $40,000 of a financial assessment.
On each count, running at the same time with 273 days of credit for time already served.
They're running consecutively, which means she won't get 40 years. She'll get 10 for all four or whatever, but still. 40 years probably would have been overkill, but I'd like to see it.
4 counts, convicted. 10 years. That isn't reported. That's the judgment. And watch how the charges shifted on the record.
I mean, okay, listen. It's a financial crime that was done through a PC. But I mean, she might be out in a fucking year and a half. You know what I mean? But still, she needs to know this isn't fucking allowed. Like, the UCC filing network is set up for people to file liens against that. But anybody that goes on there and registers can just file a lien. And you're just going to use that to abuse and intimidate people and tell people that you can't fucking say their name. It's basically, it's Uniform Commercial Code, I think is what it stands for. But it's just like a public notice board that allows lenders to claim a security interest in somebody's personal property or business property. So basically, I could go on there and say, hey, UCC filing, I have a lien against Joe's mowing service. And if Joe goes to sell his mowing service, somebody doing their due diligence would look that up and be like, hey, this guy Will Bird says that he has a lien against this. So how are we going to settle this? Either he's going to have to release his lien, or we're going to have to pay him out. You have to pay your debt to him, whatever, if he's got paperwork to back it up. The problem is that sovereign citizens found out that anybody can sign up. Basically, anybody can go on there, even with your own personal name, and sign up.
The August habeas order referenced 3 charges, but the trial record is more specific. After a superseding indictment and 2 amendments, she went to the jury on 4 counts of retaliation under Penal Code Section 36.06.
You do have to submit documents. But basically, she just printed one off that she just filled in people's names and said that they illegally used her copyright by using her name, blah, blah, blah. And it's not like someone reads every fucking document and says, yeah, this is a valid debt. Like, if you just submit the documents, they just hit approve, and they expect the person who got the lien to filed against them to dispute it if not. You know what I mean?
How the original fraudulent filing and harassment labels became 4 retaliation counts is something the indictments spell out, and the docket summary doesn't. So I'm holding that detail open until I read them. Strip off the common law language, and this is the old sovereign citizen lien trick. The pitch goes like this. Use her name, and you've supposedly signed a self-executing contract under her personal fee schedule. She counts the uses, sends a bill, and then files a UCC1 against you to make it look like a real debt secured by your property. Now, a UCC1 is a real thing. It's how an actual lender publicly claims your collateral and warns off other creditors, which is exactly why faking one is a crime. You're hijacking a legitimate credit system to cloud somebody's name. Texas was so tired of this that lawmakers passed a 2025 bill.
She still has I should sue her, shouldn't I? I should jump on this. She still has ones filed against me and Levada. Here it is. You guys want to see it? This is on the state of Tennessee's website, 10cab, 10sos.gov, UCC debtor search. Bird, Levada, Bird, William J., 5044 Bengestown Road, Memphis, Tennessee, by Hendricks Madison, 9155 Schaefer Road, Converse, Texas, 78109. Like, this should be a whole nother count, but I'm not in Texas. I don't know what the Tennessee thing is, but still, like, this is me, and she thought this was my wife. This is who she was trying to file it against. Now, technically, this isn't me. She doesn't know that, and I guess she's not going to figure it out because she's in fucking jail. This isn't me, but she thought it was, and she was trying to file it against me and my wife, Levada. She doesn't know that's my second family.
Just to make these bogus filings easier to scrub. Follow the chain. A Bexar County jury convicted a man named Mark Anthony.
Probably wouldn't have a case because she didn't actually file it against me, but I bet whoever that actual person is would. The Memphis person. Like, if it actually hit me, I bet you I'd have a case, but it didn't. It hit somebody that she thought was me.
Anthony Masilli of 3 counts of aggravated sexual assault.
Here you go. Here's her husband. All right, let's go over the steps again.
The pitch goes like this. use her name, and you've supposedly signed a self-executive.
If you use her name in any way, you've signed a self-executing contract that you owe her money because she's copywritten her name.
Contract under her personal fee schedule. She counts the uses, sends a bill, and then files.
She did do this. She'll go through your video or have somebody else go through your video and see how many times you say her name. And she says that she has a set number of how she ever charges $500 every time you say her name or whatever. And then the lien she files will be for like, I don't know, $20,000 to say, oh, you said my name this many times.
Files a UCC1 against you to make it look like a real debt secured by your property. Now, a UCC1 is a real thing. It's how an actual lender publicly claims your collateral and warns off other creditors, which is exactly why faking one is a crime. You're hijacking a legitimate credit system to cloud somebody's name. Texas was so tired of this that lawmakers passed a 2025 bill just to make these bogus filings easier to scrub. Follow the chain. A Bexar County jury convicted a man named Mark Anthony Masilli of 3 counts of aggravated sexual assault of a child.
3 counts of aggravated sexual assault of a child. That's her husband.
Affirmed all 3 convictions in March
Appeals court held up all 3 convictions.
2025.
And last year in March, they held up all 3 convictions and said, no, there's no fucking way. Appeal my ass.
That's not my characterization. That's the language of the opinion. And this is where Madison inserts herself. Reporting says she claims to be married to him. While his appeal was pending in March 2024, the Bexar County District Clerk got certified mail from her, a document she styled as a notice. She positioned herself as his attorney in fact and started pressing the prison system to let him out. When the prison...
She even tried to claim that like they were corrupt and they were beating them and they were torturing them and they weren't feeding them. And then she wanted conjugal visits. They wouldn't give her conjugal visits. So then she wanted an iPad so she could do like fucking sexting, and they wouldn't give him a fucking iPad. So then she goes on this big thing about, hey, they're part of a pedo ring and they're human trafficking. It was just a prison. He was in fucking prison where he deserves to be. But she even faked a pregnancy with him.
Officials, the warden, the executive director, the chief financial officer of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice didn't spring her husband. Here's the reported next move. She counted how many times her name showed up in the emails, billed them for it under her fee schedule, and filed UCC1 liens against them.
This dumb bitch. Are you listening to this?
Officials, she positioned herself as his attorney in fact and started pressing the prison system to let him out. When the prison officials, the warden, the executive director, the chief financial officer of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice didn't spring her husband, here's the reported next move. She counted how many times her name showed up in the emails, billed them for it under her fee schedule, and filed UCC1 liens against them.
So everybody that responded to her emails from the prison that she was harassing, she filed debtor's claims against the prison officials for using her name in an email after she claimed to be his lawyer and sent them emails. And when they responded, every time you use her name, well, it's $500 or $1,000 every time they use her name. So there you go.
That's the moment the paperwork becomes a felony. Texas law makes it a third-degree felony to go after someone in retaliation for doing their job as a public servant. Filing fake liens against the exact officials who wouldn't free her husband fit that statute, and a jury just convicted her on 4 counts of it. One thing before we keep going. The child in the Bexar County case stays out of this video completely. The conviction and the life sentence are the facts that matter. The details of what Mark Anthony Masilli...
A life sentence is fucked up. Like, how fucked up of a person do you have to be a pedophile who receives a life sentence?
Masilli did are not mine to replay here, and they're not what this story is about. This story is about Madison's conduct, not a retelling of his. And to be fair to the record, she has now been convicted in the Walker County case and has filed an appeal, so the conviction isn't final yet. Everything I've tagged Tier 3 is still exactly that, reported, not yet matched to a primary document. If this playbook sounds practiced, that's because there was a rehearsal. Before the prison officials, there was a neighbor. In Guadalupe County, a couple named Guzman sued her, and the county's own docket tells the story. She dodged service. The first citation came back unserved. The court hit her with a temporary injunction, and the case was decided on summary judgment on October 1st, 2024. And here's the tell. Right there on the court's record are her own filings. A declaration of expression of trust, directive to trustee, and a verified affidavit of facts by specific negative averment. That is the sovereign citizen script, word for word, filed into a real lawsuit. Now, the dollar figures everyone repeats, around $37,000, 5 liens nullified, those aren't on the docket page. They're inside the signed judgment, which I haven't pulled yet, so I'm keeping the numbers flagged. But here's a correction worth making out loud. The story that the neighbors will never see a dime doesn't hold. In April of 2026, the court signed a turnover order. They're collecting. So here's what it actually adds up to. 4 counts of retaliation, convicted. 10 years in TDCJ on each. But the court ran them concurrently at the same time. So the real number is 10 years, not 40. 273 days of credit and a financial assessment of just over $40,000. And one point worth being precise about.
Well, she went to the school of hard knocks for lawyers.
10 years on each count sounds like it could stack into something much longer, but it doesn't. The court ran the counts together, concurrently. 10 years is the number, and the appeal is the only thing that can move it now.
Sovereign citizens aren't recognized, but you can, I mean, I could file a fucking image of my dick with the court if I wanted to.
And the docket hasn't gone quiet since. In June, a bench warrant issued. The docket doesn't say.
They try to flood the court system with a bunch of bogus bullshit paperwork, basically, including like they'll challenge jurisdiction and they'll challenge the setting. They'll challenge all kinds of shit, right? Anything they can challenge. That sometimes they'll show up and challenge the fucking flag and scream, the flag is admiral law, and I am not a U.S. ship. I am at port in the city of blah, blah, blah. I guess it's crazy, but they still can file it.
Say why, and I won't guess for it. And on June 22nd, the court held a hearing on the appeal with a waiver filed the same day. The appeal is live and moving. One more thing, because it landed while I was checking the record for this video. The statewide court index shows a second civil lawsuit against her, open right now. 2 plaintiffs, Aurora Perez and Matthew Ottaway.
I kind of wish she would have figured out who I actually am. You know what I mean?
Filed in Travis County in August 2025, with a setting on the calendar for July 23rd.
So I could file something, but I don't think I have any rights to since she got the wrong person.
What it alleges, I don't know yet. The petition isn't viewable through the index, and in this series, we don't narrate documents we haven't read. The case existing is Tier 1. Everything inside it stays open until I pull the file. Here's the whole thing without the costume. Fake liens, a convicted sex offender she tried to free, an official she billed for the crime of doing their jobs. The name as a contract theory was never magic. It was just a way to turn a grudge into a filing, and a Walker County jury just decided those filings were felonies. 10 years worth. I'll update this if the appeal changes anything, when the Travis County suit shows its hand after July 23rd. And when the signed civil judgment and the charging instruments come out, I'll move every claim up or down the tiers the second the document lands. The record doesn't care about the brand. That's why we read it. I'm Dorian Russell. Check the receipts.
Finally, vindication. This dumb bitch behind bars. Thank God. Let's go now. Madison Marquette in prison, where she belongs, I guess. Maybe she's the one who's sitting the zucchini. I don't know.
All new at 6, a long shot congressional candidate is in jail tonight with his bail set at $1 million after a violent dispute on Maui.
Police say Carol Basin had a knife and threatened to shoot someone as a bystander appeared to knock him out. A warning, the video is violent.
A congressional candidate in Maui gets an altercation at the beach with a different guy, not this guy that knocked him out. But this guy knocks him out, wakes him up, and tells him to watch his fucking mouth. I don't think the guy was going to win. It said he's a long shot candidate. But there are people coming out saying he's got anger issues. Like they've seen him at the courthouse and in this panel and in this thing. And yeah, he's kind of a loose cannon.
This video, widely shared on HHH News and other social media sites, shows the violent clash on Keavakapu Beach in South Kihei.
Wake up. Yeah.
There was one of them that was selling fake tags. Like you paid $150, you never had to buy a car tag again or register your car again. And he got arrested with his fake tag. And while he was in jail, they sold more of his fake tags to raise money to bail him out.
involving Democratic congressional candidate 40-year-old Carol Basin and a man Saturday
He wakes him up, then tells him to watch his fucking mouth.
afternoon.
That's pretty fucking cold, dude. Knock him out, wake him up, tell him to watch his fucking mouth or you'll do it again.
PD says it started when a 60
Hell yeah, Jay Freezy. You got room for one more?
61-year-old man asked Basin to lower the volume of his music.
I could probably fold up into a carry-on.
Basin then allegedly threatened the man and implied he
They asked him to turn down his music.
MPD says it started when a 61-year-old man asked Basin to lower the volume of his music.
A 61-year-old man. Like an elderly man is like, hey, can you turn the music down some? And this is what happens.
Basin then allegedly threatened the man and implied he had a firearm and would shoot the victim's wife. Police say a bystander
He threatened him, said he had a gun, he would shoot his wife if she didn't shut up.
intervened, leading to a brief physical altercation. Basin allegedly armed himself with a knife and threatened multiple people before throwing it into the ocean. It was later recovered. Police arrested Basin for 2 counts of first-degree terroristic threatening. His bail is set at $1 million.
Let's be honest, we didn't know who he was before.
Danny Stolfi of 808 Viral watched the video but didn't share it.
You can't get any better than a congressional candidate in his underwear at the beach, and he's posting weirder stuff. So it starts to make you wonder, okay, so is it a mental health issue? Is it a stunt? People will probably vote for him.
Attorneys Miles Briner and Brandon Siegel represent Basin. Briner said the case is pending review by the Maui prosecutor's office and had no...
Are we the only people that say Maui? They call it Maui? Like the locals do? Because this is like Hawaii news. I've always heard it called Maui, but I guess it's Maui?
comment at this time. Police say since May, Basin has been arrested for other incidents of assault and property damage. Several people have taken out temporary restraining orders against him, including Maui County Councilman Thomas Cook, who said he was...
There it is, Thomas Cook.
...worried about his personal safety and for his staff when Basin disrupted...
I feel like if the local news is calling it Maui, that's probably the way the locals pronounce it.
He said Basin became aggressive and confrontational, threatened violence against the police and a council ambassador. 2 days later, on May 29th, reports circulated that Basin brandished a weapon in a county office building.
He should have been arrested weeks ago, is what this is saying. Like, hey, he's threatening to kill people, threatening to hurt people. He brandished a weapon in a confrontation in a county office building. Like, he already should have been arrested.
In a confrontation with county employees. In a statement, Congressmember Jill Takuda said violence has no place in our communities or in public service. Anyone holding or seeking office at any level of government should be held to a higher standard. Our communities deserve leaders who bring people together, not those who contribute to further division or violence.
Glad to see somebody get knocked the fuck out. That looks cool as shit. We're about to watch this video. Hold on. Tire wrap.
Behind me is the fastest accelerating car on...
Sorry, we're off the side.
It produces more power than 12 Formula 1 cars, has tyres so physically deform under acceleration, and does 0 to 300 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. So how is it possible to go this fast?
These dragsters are the most fastest and most violent cars.
When I was young and like really like into mechanics and stuff, I would say I was probably like 13 or 14. The job I wanted was to be on a crew for a drag car, like where they rebuild the engines between every races.
Drive.
It's very violent to the point where people have been knocked unconscious by it.
It hits so hard that I kind of see these stars.
People describe it like an earthquake, and I think that's the most accurate description.
This is the fastest car in motorsport. So how does it generate so much power? To find out, we first need to look at the fuel that powers this car.
Top fuel dragsters run on a fuel so dangerous it's classed as an explosive, and you can't legally buy it.
It's called nitromethane, and it's one of the strongest fuels on Earth.
And this? Well, this is just water. No one would let me near the stuff.
But the weird part is that nitromethane contains just a quarter of the energy of the petrol you'd put in your road car. So how does it allow the engine to produce 12,000 horsepower?
Nitromethane has oxygen within the fuel fuel. So the typical fuel that we put in our cars, it's carbon and hydrogen. This is carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen.
A normal engine needs around 15 parts of air to burn just 1 part of fuel. But nitromethane needs less than 2 because it carries its own oxygen. And that means that you can burn far more fuel. More fuel means a bigger explosion, and a bigger explosion means more power. And that's what makes nitromethane so extraordinary.
A top fuel engine could be started in space because it would run with the oxygen load in the fuel itself. It does not need atmospheric oxygen. These are
send top fuel dragsters to the moon.
Liquid breathing engines.
And
did you guys see the fucking SpaceX rocket hit the moon?
They use an unbelievable amount of the stuff.
1.5 gallons per second. That's terrible gas mileage, but it's all that.
That's insane, dude.
40 miles per hour.
I wanted to understand what that actually looks like, so I bought a flow meter to demonstrate. Now, 1.5 gallons per second is 90 gallons per minute. And this is just 0.5 gallons per minute. What's going into a top fuel dragster's engine is 180 times this amount. And even what's going into each individual cylinder is 22 times this. This stuff isn't cheap. At around $35 a gallon, they're burning over $500 worth of fuel in a single run. But there is a reason they spend this much money. It's because nitromethane basically doubles how much power they have compared to other fuels. And the crazy part is that they're not even running the nitromethane at full strength.
Maximum allowed to run 90% nitro, so we mix it with methanol.
The rules cap nitromethane at 90%, and it's diluted with methanol, because if it's any purer, the explosions become very difficult to control. But making this much power is only half the problem, because now you have to build an engine that can survive it.
The aim of any run is to be full.
That's crazy.
No dead cylinders, no hurt parts.
But if it lasts any longer, it's not been pushed hard enough.
They're completely torn down and rebuilt. Things such as pistons, valves, all of these things become expendable parts.
Like, they don't want it to fail, obviously. Like, they don't want a broken engine at the end of every race. But they want to use every fucking ounce of power and basically use up the engine through a run.
And they last about 1 run.
This is a top fuel dragster piston, and this is what it looks like after a run.
And then they bring it over in the pits, and you only have, so much time between rounds, so they rebuild the whole fucking thing.
This single piston and its cylinder makes more power than an entire Formula 1 car. Multiply that 8 times, and you've got 12,000 horsepower from a supercharged 500 cubic inch, 8.2 litre engine based on the old Chrysler Hemi. So how do you even measure power like that? Normally you'd put an engine on a dyno to measure its horsepower. But with a top fuel engine, that's just impossible.
There's not a dyno in the world that is strong enough to hold on to one of these things in the way it would need to be done. If you put one of these engines on a dyno and accelerate it full throttle, it would destroy everything in the room.
That is insane. And one of the biggest reasons these engines make that much power is the supercharger. It force feeds air into the engine, allowing it to burn more fuel and create a bigger explosion inside each cylinder. But that power doesn't come for free. Before the engine drives the car, it has to spend 1,200 horsepower just spinning the supercharger. But it's still worth it because it gives back far more than it takes. And it's so violent it can rip itself off the engine.
Because when top fuel cars would backfire, they would take a 150-pound root supercharger and shoot it off the top of the engine.
Yeah, they have to strap them down now.
Like trackside photographers and media were hit by these things. So what you see are
they have straps to hold it on the engine because they explode so often.
Are basically Kevlar woven belts that run from the supercharger down over the top of the valve covers, and they lock in on the cylinder heads.
With all that violence going on, top fuel dragsters produce a lot of heat. And you might expect them to have massive cooling systems, but that's...
I mean, you could just claim every sport. I mean, you like baseball? What a waste of money.
The case.
There is no dedicated cooling system. You don't have
a bunch of guys being paid millions of dollars to chase the ball around.
Coolant running through it. It's a solid billet block. There's no cooling because it only goes for 3 seconds and then it's done.
In fact, if it were to run for 5 or 6 seconds more, the engine would simply melt. But even on a 4-second run, the engine is destroying itself on the way down the track. So the engine crosses the line already eating itself alive. But the real challenge isn't creating 12,000 horsepower. It's controlling it. And to do that, they use the cleverest piece of engineering in this whole car. And it's a part they throw in the bin after every single run. I'll show you it next. But first, today's sponsor,
Clutch.
Outskill helps professionals master AI to transform their careers with sponsoring this video. Right, 12,000 horsepower, 2 rubber tires, and 1 part in between with an almost impossible job. The problem is that
it's only good for 1 run before they rebuild it. I don't know about the blocks, but they rebuild everything. It gets new valve train, new heads, new pistons, new everything.
Smashes the throttle. This engine makes all 12,000 horsepower. It doesn't build up through the revs or climb through the gears because it doesn't have any. That power is instant. But if you send all of it to the tires, they couldn't grip. They just spin. And a spinning tire is turning that power into heat and smoke instead of speed. So there's a problem. Too much power and nowhere near enough grip, at least at the start of the run. The engine gives us a flat but uncontrollable 12,000 horsepower.
Basically, most of these cars they're all sub 4 seconds. They say if these things run for like 6, 7, 8 seconds, the engine would it would be done, right? it would blow.
That's 100% of our potential. The tyres give us mechanical grip, enough to put maybe 10% of that power into the track. The exhausts, strangely, give us a little more. They're angled up and back on purpose, so the gases blast the car down into the track. With that, we can use another 10% of power. And at a standstill, that's all we've got. The dragster can only use a couple of thousand horsepower. As it moves down the run, the wings will handle the rest, but only once the car is moving fast. For most of the run, there's simply too much power. So what do they do with the excess? Well, they burn it somewhere else.
This is a top fuel dragster clutch. It's massive.
You can have 12,000 horsepower all day long, but if you can't put it to the racing surface, it's no good. That's why the clutch guys make the big bucks.
How the clutch works is pretty simple. Inside are spinning plates. Squeeze them together, and all of the engine's power drives the wheels.
That's to let some of it slip.
And only some gets through. The rest turns into heat inside the clutch.
Using about 25% of that clutch. The full 100% clutch doesn't come in until about 2.5 seconds.
The clutch is only allowing
they just put new liners in them
from the engine.
I gotcha.
It's trying to perfectly match the increasing amount of grip the dragster has. And the clutch actually controls itself. As it spins faster, weighted levers fling outwards and squeeze the plates together. The faster it goes, the harder the clutch grips. Before the run, the crew add tiny weights to those levers, changing exactly how quickly the clutch comes in, all the way down the track. And they tune it to that day's conditions as to whether the track has more or less grip. It's a very fine balance. And when they get it wrong, what happens is the exact...
It's crazy the way it ripples the tires.
If they're not making enough power, because the engine has to shear the clutch. You need the slippage. That's why when you watch a top fuel dragster, you will see a black cloud kind of following the thing down the racetrack. It's clutch material that is being vented out as the clutch is wearing.
To keep them slipping, the engine has to overpower the clutch. But if it comes up short, the plates grab early, and all the power hits the tires at once, and they spin. And even more than the engine, the clutch is destroying itself on the way down the track.
The clutch is replaced every single run. It just kind of melts together and fuses.
So the clutch is critical to a fast dragster, but none of it matters if the next link in the chain lets go. The fuel, the engine, the clutch, 12,000 horsepower bed in perfectly, and all of it is useless unless the tires can lay it into the track.
The most mind-blowing thing about them is the grip. Like, these are launching above 5 Gs. They're hitting 100 miles per hour in less than a second. If you're stationary, it's like we've got tires, you've got a sticky surface. But to me, the numbers still don't quite make sense of like, how do they get this much grip?
Well, I wanted to find out, so I went and got a top fuel dragster tire, and that wasn't easy because they are absolutely massive.
17 plus inches wide, 36 inches tall.
And when you handle it, the most surprising thing is just how thin and soft the sidewall is. The pressure is around 5 times less than you'd find in your road car, and it's critical to performance because the moment the car launches, the tire squashes and spreads out into a big contact patch with the asphalt, gripping every tiny imperfection in the track. So you might think the softer the better. You just keep dropping the pressure for more and more grip. But as with all these things, there is a balance.
If you have less pressure when it launches, it will squat down, but what can happen is the centre of the tyre sort of folds up, so you end up with not a flat contact. So less pressure is actually letting you have more wheel spin to a degree.
So the perfect pressure is a knife edge. Too hard and the tyres can't deform. Too soft and it folds in on itself, which is why the teams change tyre pressure in steps of 1/10 of a PSI. But the real magic is in the sidewall.
The development of wrinkle wall drag slicks really came in the late 60s. Using the sidewalls as almost a giant shock absorber to absorb some of that initial load to get the tire to compress and drive itself into the racetrack was really where that started.
When the engine dumps its power, the wheel tries to spin instantly. The tyre is so soft that the sidewall twists up before the rubber can break free. You can actually see it wrinkle. And that wrinkle works like a spring. It absorbs the initial brutal hit of the power. Stores
6.5 PSI. Adjusting it 1/10 of a PSI to get a better run is crazy. 1/10 of a PSI, I can understand if they're like, oh, bump it up to 8 or bump it down to 5. You know what I mean? But 1/10 of a PSI, that's it.
The car forward instead of just lighting up the tyres. A top fuel dragster has no suspension, so that soft flexing sidewall is the only thing soaking up the violence of the launch. But the strangest job the tyre does is to be the gearbox. Remember, there are no gears in this car, so watch the tyre across a run. At the launch, it's squashed and the circumference gets smaller. And this small tyre acts like a low gear.
But it expands the faster you go.
Then, as the speed builds, it gets pulled outwards and grows.
The tyres are growing so much, they're growing roughly 7 inches on the run from start to finish will be the height difference. That is the gearing in the car, basically. Obviously, there is no transmission.
A taller tyre is basically a taller gear, which is perfect for top speed.
That growing rear tire acts like almost a continuously variably growing gear ratio. Tire growth is a big part of why these cars work at the top end.
So this one piece of rubber is doing 4 jobs at once.
It's crazy.
It's the traction, it's the suspension, it's the shock absorber, and it's the gearbox. But get any of this slightly wrong, and the tyre turns violent. If it grips too hard and can't slip, it grabs and lets go, then grabs and lets go again, over and over. It's called tyre shake, and it's absolutely savage.
That is not fun.
To beat a car apart.
Your head is just being bashed around. It's just this vibration in your head. Once I get to that top end, you have this pounding headache. But I'll come back to my crew chief, and I'm like, that one hurt. That can be very, very, very painful. You know, people black out. It's violent.
So the tyres find the grip, the clutch feeds in the power, and in under 4 seconds, this thing is doing 300 miles per hour, which creates a whole new problem. How do you avoid a massive crash at high speed? At 300 miles per hour, the danger completely changes. Up to now, the restriction has been power and grip, but now it's the air, because the moment this car gets light or even points slightly in the wrong direction, it crashes hard. So everything from here is about one thing, keeping the car pinned to the ground and pointing dead straight. And the first trick is the simplest. Just look at it. A top fuel dragster is around 25 feet long, the longest car in all of motorsport. And that length isn't just for show. A long car adds stability. Like an arrow, the length makes it want to fly straight, but length alone won't keep it on the track. For that, like Formula 1, it uses wings. A big one at the back and a smaller one at the front.
The front wing that's holding the nose down is making somewhere around 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, and the back wing, the multi-element adjustable tall rear wing, is making over 5,000, closer to 6,000 pounds at a speed of over 300 miles an hour.
That's more than 5 tons of downforce on a car that barely weighs 1. Now, you might think they'd run as much wing.
It's big money, big business, for sure.
Balance.
These wings are so big, obviously they create a lot of drag, which we don't really want drag, because most top fuel wings now are run at somewhere between 0 and 1 degree. Any more is really just creating a lot more drag than you need, and it's actually slowing the cars down.
And the wings aren't working alone. Remember the exhaust? They've been shoving this car into the track since the very first meter.
You can definitely feel, the downforce in these cars on that launch. It throws you to the back of your seat.
So, you might think with all that force holding it down, the car would be planted and easy to drive. But at 300 miles per hour, it becomes terrifyingly sensitive.
Early in the run, big steering inputs, and then by late in the run, you want to be doing virtually nothing. The front end is going to move.
Tony Stewart does all kinds of shit. Hell, he goes and races around fucking Cletus McFarlane and them idiots down there.
Even if it's infinitesimally, it's going to move before the back end decides to do things.
And it looks like they have fun, though. That's what I would do, I think. If I had a bunch of money and the ability to just go drive places, I'd race all kinds of shit. I've seen him race dirt track. I've seen him race all kinds of shit.
Off the line, the whole thing tries to flip over backwards. That's why dragsters have wheelie bars, 2 long bars out the back with little wheels that stop the car rotating too much and flipping over. But they've got an even cleverer job. By controlling how much the back of the car squats on launch, they control how hard the tyre pressures into the track. And with it, the amount of grip and wheel spin you get off the line. But get any of this wrong and the results are disastrous. If the front lifts too far at speed, the air gets underneath the nose and the car becomes a plane. It rides up on its own
We've got a pretty famous, we got Bristol Motor Speedway within driving distance from my house. And then, of course, there's a drag strip there called Thunder Valley. And during the summers, they have street fights on Thursday night. I really want to build a project car before Liam graduates that we can take to run at street fights. But on Thursdays, it's like fucking $5 to watch, $10 to race. Whatever you bring, you come over there and run it on the drag strip.
Cushion of air and flips clean over backwards. It's called a blowover, and the most famous one ever happened to a legend of the sport, Don Garlitz, back in 1986. His car flipped over and somehow landed on all 4 wheels. Incredibly, he climbed out and walked away. But not everyone has been so lucky.
There's an old saying in drag racing that the rule book was written in the blood of those who died.
Every one of those lessons made the cars safer, but every run still ends with the same question. How do you
I think Formula One's cool to keep up with because they're constantly finding new ways to cheat. And then they get cheated all the fucking time. The one team will cheat and be slightly faster this season, and the other teams will complain. They'll figure out how they cheated and go back and forth.
Something that's traveling at over 300 miles an hour. At this speed, brakes aren't enough. There's simply too much energy to get rid of. Instead, top fuel dragsters use 2 parachutes. And the reason they work is simple. The faster you're going, the harder the air fights back. At 300 miles an hour, a parachute slows the car down far faster than any brake ever could.
When you throw your chutes, it hits so hard that I kind of see these stars. So violent, it hits you hard. So you go from like plus 4-ish to negative 5, 6 a few seconds later. It's like hitting a wall at 300 miles per hour.
And this isn't just discomfort.
Drivers like Joe Amato and Don Garlitz, their careers ended at the time they did because the parachute deployment was so violent, their retinas were detaching from their eyes.
What if the parachutes don't deploy properly? Well, there is a backup.
So a top fuel dragster does have rear-only brakes. They are carbon on carbon.
Those fucking nitro Harleys are fucking insane, too.
A good top fuel driver can absolutely get his car stopped after a run at 330 to 40 miles an hour in the allotted shutdown time with only the brakes.
But the moment the car comes to a stop is only the beginning. This entire machine has to be torn apart and then rebuilt in minutes.
That's what I think is cool.
What happens next is something you won't see in the motorsport. The second the car stops, the crew is already on it.
We're the only motorsport that you're going to watch where you're going to actually show. We're going to show people disassembling engines and identify the parts and show you what was broken.
Within minutes, the engine is coming apart, and they're not just checking it over. They're stripping the whole thing down. I stood in the pits and watched the team.
My brother-in-law's son works for like NASCAR now.
Tear down the engine and then build it all back up
in Indianapolis.
In less than 45 minutes. It was like a military operation. So what actually needs replacing after a single 3.6 second run? Well, a lot. The bearings, every spark plug, all of the oil, the piston rings, and the clutch. They're gone every single time.
It eats up parts. It gives you the most peak horsepower, but it also gives you an emptier wallet.
It's definitely not cheap. A single run can cost between $12,000 and $15,000 in parts, and that's if nothing major breaks. But surely something on this engine must be built to last. Well, not really. The pistons last a handful of runs, the connecting rods a few more, and even the crankshaft, the very heart of the engine, only survives a handful of runs before it cracks.
An engine that lasts 500,000 miles is insanely cool to me because it's like, wow, someone created something that was capable of this like destructive behavior inside for such an insanely long period of time. This is like going the complete opposite direction. How much power can we make? We don't care how long it lasts. It's going to last 1,000 feet. As long as it lasts 1,000 feet, we're good.
What was interesting with my time with the top fuel dragsters was the incredible level of detail. Just like in Formula One, you've got a group of brilliant engineers chasing one single goal. Except here,
I've got a Ranger I've been thinking about putting a 350, just a small block in.
That goal is beautifully simple. Get the car to cover 1,000 feet faster than...
It's a 4-cylinder 5-speed right now, but I've been thinking about maybe tubbing it out a little bit, putting a fucking just a small block, just something to have fun in. I know it wouldn't be like a competitive car, but it'd be fun.
Else on Earth. So if you ever get the chance to see one run in real life, please take it. You won't forget it. Thank you to everyone who helps make this video. You can find out more about them in the links below.
I thought about buying another Miata, but I was afraid I would slide back into my old habits of sucking dick, so I don't know. Miatas comes with strings attached. I used to do rallycross, autocross, had a couple different Escorts, a Miata, a couple of Volkswagens. I did a bunch of stuff when I was young. I've raced fucking cross country on motorcycles when I was young. Raced a bunch of stuff when I was young. Just bills and shit now. Racing's expensive. It's a big fucking money pit. Even if you're just trying to have fun, it's a money pit. To be competitive, it's even a bigger money pit. All right, I want to watch this and learn. We're going to learn together, chat.
In 1948, two groups claimed the right to the same land using the same argument. This is our ancestral home. Both were right, and both were only partially right. That's not a contradiction. That is exactly the problem. Because the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians is not a dispute between a truth and a lie. It is a dispute between two truths that cannot occupy the same space at the same time. And to understand how we got here, to October 2023, to the war in Gaza, to an impasse that seems to have no exit, you need to go back much further than 1948. You need to go back 5,000 years. In this video, we are going to trace the entire history of the region we now call Israel and Palestine, who lived there, who conquered it, who was expelled, and how each layer of history created a new claim that was never fully resolved. Because what is happening today is not a conflict that came out of nowhere. It is the result of 5,000 years of history compressing into a single place. And once you understand that, you will understand why this conflict is so difficult to resolve. Let's start with a simple question. Who were the first inhabitants of this region? The archaeological answer is...
Yeah, when I was young, we fucking built a bunch of fucking Hondas because that's what we could afford when I was in high school. I've probably owned, I don't know, 25 fucking Civic hatches, a handful of fucking Integras.
Is nobody you know by name. Jericho, today a city in the West Bank, is one of the oldest permanent human settlements in the world. Around 9,000 years before Christ, people were already living there in an organized way. They built stone walls, a tower, a community. To put that in perspective,
I suck at least one dick a year to make sure I still hate it.
The Great Pyramid of Giza was built about 4,500 years ago. Jericho is twice as old. These people had no recorded name. They left no texts. What they left behind were tools, structures, and bones. Later, around 3,500 years before Christ, a more recognizable civilization emerges in this same region. Historians call it Canaanite. The Canaanites were not a single people. They were a collection of independent city-states, similar to the ancient Greek cities, spread across what is today Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan, and parts of Syria. They spoke Semitic languages, traded with Egypt, had gods, temples, and a rich cultural life. And here is the first thing that will surprise many people. In 2020, a study published in the scientific journal Cell analyzed the DNA of 93 ancient individuals from this region. The result? Modern Jews and modern Arabs share more than half of their genetic ancestry with the Bronze Age Canaanites. In other words, the two peoples who today dispute this land are, in large part, descendants of the same people who lived there 4,000 years ago. This is not a dispute between foreigners and natives. It is a dispute between very distant cousins who lost contact for millennia. Remember that. It will matter.
You know what's weird is they never apply Semitic, like Semitic or anti-Semitic, to people who speak Arabic and Aramaic. Just Jews. Isn't that weird? I mean, those people are Semitic too. Yeah, that's right. My buddy Hector, he was running 3 Honda Civics, spoon engines. And on top of that, he just came into Harry's and he ordered 3 T66 turbos with NOS and Motec system exhausts. Hector's a bad dude.
Matter later. Around 1,200 years before Christ, the Canaanite civilization begins to fragment. The Bronze Age collapse, a mysterious event that brought down entire empires across the Mediterranean within decades, weakens the Canaanite city-states. And it is into that vacuum that a new group emerges, the Israelites. Where did the Israelites come from? That is a question historians and archaeologists still debate. The Bible describes an escape from Egypt, a generation in the desert, a conquest of Canaan. The archaeology tells a different story, or at least a more complicated one. Israel Finkelstein, one of the leading Israeli archaeologists of our time, reached a...
Wait.
The archaeology tells a different story, or at least a more complicated one. Israel Finkelstein.
The guy's name is Israel Finkelstein? Does that not sound like a character from Family Guy? Israel Finkelstein.
Finkelstein, one of the leading Israeli archaeologists of our time, reached a conclusion that many find unsettling. The Israelites probably did not come from outside. They emerged from within the Canaanite civilization. They are, in large measure, Canaanites who developed a distinct identity over time, including one of the most radical innovations in human history, monotheism, the worship of a single God. This does not deny the Israelite identity, it makes it more complex and deeper. Around 900 years before Christ, there is clear archaeological consensus. Two Israelite kingdoms dominated the region: the Kingdom of Israel in the north, with its capital at Samaria, the Kingdom of Judah in the south, with its capital at Jerusalem.
It's so complicated, that whole
earlier United
mass of land.
David and Solomon. Historians debate the extent of that kingdom. What is not debated is that from the 9th...
Thank God we came in America where, nobody lived here. It was just open country, manifest destiny.
9th century BC onward, Israel and Judah existed as functioning states. That is confirmed by inscriptions on stone, records from neighboring empires, archaeological evidence. But independence did not last long. In 722 BC, the Assyrian Empire conquers the Kingdom of Israel. The capital, Samaria, falls. Part of the population is deported to other territories of the empire and disappears from history. These are the so-called 10 lost tribes.
Reuben, Simon, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh.
The kingdom of Judah survives for another 136 years. In 586 BC, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II marches on Jerusalem. He destroys the city, destroys the first temple, the spiritual center of Judaism, and deports the elite of Judah to Babylon. It is the end of the first independent Jewish state, but it is not the end of the Jewish people. And here is what makes this moment extraordinary. Unlike virtually every other ancient nation that suffered mass deportations, the Jews did not dissolve into the culture of their conquerors. They kept their religion, their written language, their identity. In Babylon, without a temple, without land, without a state, they codified their stories, their laws, their rituals. They created a way to survive without territory. That will be relevant 2,500 years from now. In 538 BC, a new power changes the game. Cyrus the Great, king of the Persian Empire, conquers Babylon and issues a historic decree. The Jews may return to their land and rebuild their temple. The Cyrus cylinder, a physical artifact that exists to this day, housed at the British Museum in London, records Cyrus's broader policy of returning displaced peoples to their homelands. Some Jews return. The Second Temple is built, but most stayed in Babylon, and other Jewish communities already existed in Egypt. The diaspora, the dispersal of the Jewish people across the world, had begun. In the centuries that follow, the region passes from hand to hand. Alexander the Great conquers it in 332 BC. Greece gradually Hellenizes the culture: Greek language, Greek philosophy, Greek architecture. But in 167 BC, the Seleucid king Antiochus IV makes a catastrophic strategic mistake. He desecrates the temple in Jerusalem and bans Jewish religious practices. The response is the Maccabean Revolt, an armed uprising led by the Maccabee family that against all odds expels the Greek occupiers. In 164 BC, the Maccabees retake and purify the temple. This is the event that Jews commemorate to this day in the holiday of Hanukkah. In 142 BC, the Jews achieve full political independence under the Hasmonean dynasty. And here is a fact that very few people know. Between the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC and the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, there was exactly one period of independent Jewish sovereignty over this land, the Hasmonean dynasty, from 142 to 63 BC, 80 years. After that, Rome. In 63 BC, the Roman general Pompey enters Jerusalem. Rome does not destroy the temple, at least not yet. It governs through client kings, collects taxes, maintains order with violence when necessary. For a century, Jews live under Roman rule with relative autonomy, but the tension is constant. In 66 AD, it explodes. The first Jewish revolt begins with a massacre of Jews in Caesarea, a violation of the temple by Roman officials, and a refusal to pay tribute. At first, the Jews win. They drive the Romans out of Jerusalem. They establish an independent government. Rome responds with the general Vespasian, and then with his son Titus. In 70 AD, after a devastating siege, Titus enters Jerusalem. What follows is one of the most defining catastrophes in Jewish history. The Second Temple is destroyed to its foundations. The Western Wall, the only remnant that exists to this day, is what remained of the retaining walls of the temple complex. Jews are killed, enslaved, deported. The diaspora accelerates dramatically. But the final blow comes 65 years later. In 132 AD, Simeon Bar Kokhba leads the Second Jewish Revolt against Rome. For 3 years, Jewish forces control significant parts of Judea. In 135, Rome crushes the revolt. Emperor Hadrian makes a calculated decision to ensure this never happens again. He renames the province of Judea to Syria Palestina, derived from the Philistines, the ancient biblical rivals of the Israelites, a deliberately humiliating choice. He rebuilds Jerusalem as a Roman city, Aelia Capitolina, and bans Jews from entering it. The name Palestine, which will carry such enormous weight millennia later, does not have Arab origins. It has Roman origins, and it was chosen specifically to erase the Jewish identity from the region. In the centuries that follow, the composition of the region changes gradually. The Roman Empire adopts Christianity in the 4th century. Palestine becomes a Christian Holy Land. Churches are built in Bethlehem, Nazareth, Jerusalem. The local population is majority Christian with Jewish and Samaritan minorities. But in 636 AD, everything changes again. In the summer of 636, a Muslim general named Khalid ibn al-Walid commands the army of the Rashidun Caliphate against the Byzantine Empire along the banks of the Yarmouk River. The battle lasts 6 days. The Byzantine army, larger in number, is destroyed. With that single victory, the entire region lies open. Jerusalem holds out for another year. In 637, the city surrenders, not to armies, but personally to the Caliph Umar, who travels from Medina to receive the capitulation. Umar does something unexpected for the era. He guarantees the safety of Christian churches and allows Jews, banned from the city since the year 135, to return and live in Jerusalem. The Islamization of the region happens gradually over the following centuries. The Arabization is faster. And here is something important for understanding this conflict. The Arab populations that live in Palestine today did not arrive with the 7th century armies. Most are descendants of the same populations that were always there: Canaanites, Israelites, Greeks, Romans, who progressively adopted Arabic and Islam over centuries of coexistence and cultural assimilation. They are not...
While they all came from the same people in the same area, and they still have so much difference.
The outsiders who came later. They are a layer of historical continuity. In 1099, the Crusaders arrive. Knights from Western Europe, in the name of Pope Urban II, cross the Mediterranean to liberate Jerusalem from the Muslims. What happens when they take the city is a massacre. Sources from the time, including Crusader sources, describe the extermination of much of the Muslim and Jewish population of Jerusalem. The Crusaders establish the Kingdom of Jerusalem. They rule for nearly a century. In 1187, a Kurdish Syrian Muslim leader named Saladin defeats the Crusaders at the Battle of Hattin in July and takes Jerusalem in October. Saladin does not massacre the Christian population. He allows the inhabitants to leave the city safely upon payment of a ransom. That distinction between the Crusader violence of 1099 and the relative clemency of 1187 is remembered to this day. The Crusaders attempt to reconquer. There will be other crusades, but they never retake Jerusalem permanently. The region passes through the Ayyubids, the Mamluks, the Mongols, and then the Ottomans arrive. In 1516, the Ottoman Empire conquers the region from the Mamluks. For approximately 400 years, from 1516 to 1917, Palestine is an Ottoman province, not a nation, not a state, a collection of administrative districts within an empire. Who live there? We have estimates. They are imperfect. Ottoman censuses were inaccurate by nature, with Bedouin populations going uncounted and widespread tax evasion. But the best academic estimates, based on records from the period, suggest around 1880, the total population of the region was approximately 468,000 people. About 87% were Muslim and Christian Arabs. About 3% were Jewish. A small but continuous Jewish community, present for millennia, concentrated in sacred cities like Jerusalem, Safed, Hebron, and Tiberias. The coexistence was not idyllic. There were tensions, discrimination, episodes of violence. But there was also commerce, neighborhood, decades and decades of shared life. And then, in the second half of the 19th century, something begins to change. Not in Palestine, in Europe. In the late 19th century, Jews across Europe live under constant threat. In the Russian Empire, pogroms, organized mass attacks tolerated or sponsored by the state, kill and displace entire Jewish communities. In 1881, following the assassination of Tsar Alexander II, a wave of anti-Jewish violence sweeps Eastern Europe. In France, considered the most enlightened and liberal nation in Europe, a Jewish officer named Alfred Dreyfus is falsely convicted of treason in 1894 in the midst of a public outbreak of anti-Semitism that shocks the continent.
Ooh.
An Austro-Hungarian journalist named Theodor Herzl covers the Dreyfus case in Paris. What he witnesses changes him forever. If France allows this, then no Jew is safe anywhere in Europe. Herzl reaches a conclusion. I
think they did a lot. Other peoples besides Native Americans probably did a lot better job of preserving their own history, like written documents and shit like that.
Solution to anti-Semitism is a Jewish state. In 1896, he publishes Der Judenstaat, the Jewish state. In 1897, he organizes the first Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland. Zionism, the Jewish national movement, is born as a political response to a European problem. Herzl was not necessarily religious. He even considered other territories, including Uganda. But the emotional and
I think it would be amazing to have like Native American fucking scrolls and tablets and shit. I just don't think that was something they were doing. But that stuff's super interesting. The fact that somebody thought it was important to write shit down is just crazy.
Historical pool of Palestine, the biblical land of the ancestors, where a Jewish community still existed, was irresistible to most of the movement. Palestine was the destination. And so the Aliyot begin, the waves of Jewish immigration to Ottoman Palestine. The first Aliyah, from 1882 to 1903, between 25,000 and 35,000 immigrants settle permanently, mostly from Russia. The second Aliyah,
don't make me do it,
to 1914, another 35 to 40,000. They buy land. They found agricultural communities. They revive Hebrew as a spoken language, one of the most extraordinary linguistic achievements in modern history, transforming a language of sacred text into a language of markets and conversation. And the Arab Palestinians who live there, they begin to see what is coming, and they begin to worry. In 1914, the First World War begins. The Ottoman Empire enters on the losing side, alongside Germany and Austro-Hungary. Britain, fighting the Ottomans in the Middle East, makes promises to everyone. It promises Arab leaders, including Sharif Hussein of Mecca, that if the Arabs revolt against the Ottomans, Britain will support Arab independence after the war. At the same time, it secretly negotiates with France an agreement to divide the Middle East between the two empires after the war. The Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916.
There's a lot of like Mayan stuff. That stuff's really cool. But a lot of that was, the Mexico stuff.
Draws lines on the map that will define borders to this day. And on November the 2nd, 1917, the British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour sends a letter to Lord Rothschild, the leader of the British Jewish community. The letter contains 67 words. Those 67 words will change the world. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine.
Being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil or religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country.
Or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. Look at what that declaration does and what it does not do. It promises a national home for the Jewish people, not a state. It defines no borders. It promises not to undermine the civil and religious rights of the Arabs, who were 90% of the population, but it says nothing about their political or national rights, and it does not even call them by name. An ambiguous promise, made without consulting the people who live there. This is the Balfour Declaration. It exists to this day as one of the most consequential and contested documents of the 20th century. In 1917, British troops enter Jerusalem. After the war, in 1920, the League of Nations grants Britain the mandate over Palestine, with the explicit mission of implementing the Balfour Declaration while protecting the rights of the local inhabitants. Two contradictory obligations.
Dude, I bet you fucking Jason Q keeps at least 3 different inkjet company ink makers in business. He has to.
One single power responsible for fulfilling both. What could go wrong? During the 1920s and 30s, British Mandatory Palestine undergoes a demographic transformation without precedent. The third Aliyah from 1919 to 1923, 40,000 immigrants. The fourth Aliyah from 1924 to 1928, around 80,000. And then in 1933, Adolf Hitler comes to power in Germany. The numbers explode. 1933.
Here's a question, a real question. Is it Christianity being so prevalent and like this, like, well, the Jews don't believe in Christ and they're technically the ones who, called for his execution, I guess. Is that what leads so many countries to distrusting and kicking out the Jews throughout history?
30,000 immigrants. 1934, 42,000. 1935, 61,000.
I'm part of Big Zucchini now.
The population of Palestine had reached 400,000, about 1/3 of the total population. The arrival in mass was not just people. It was capital, institutions, a national infrastructure under construction, hospitals, universities, newspapers, paramilitary forces. Arab Palestinians watch a national project being built inside their land. In April 1936, the tension explodes. The Great Arab Revolt begins with a general strike. It evolves into...
So, many countries became super anti-Semitic, and you always hear the figure like 109 countries, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that's overstated, right? But I have come to the conclusion to expel Jewish people or have pretty fucking draconian laws against Jewish people. Is that because they have some type of grudge because Christianity was so prevalent and they have this bias against them because, the Christians are technically the ones that called for the execution of Jesus and they don't believe in our Savior, blah, blah, blah. Or is it some other, I don't know. Is it the same text that I don't know. I guess I just don't. The protocols of, what was it called? Protocols of Elders of Zion or whatever. That was some propaganda that was passed around for a while and used for it, right?
About 1/3 of the total population. The arrival in mass was not just people.
We're not even talking about the same fucking thing, Jay Bird. Just stop. No one's talking about present day Israel. We're talking about Israel fucking 200 years ago. Jewish people.
It was capital, institutions, a national infrastructure under construction, hospitals, universities, newspapers, paramilitary forces. Arab Palestinians watch a national project being built inside their land.
Before they had a homeland, they were kicked out of 109 countries is what the quote usually is. I'm sure that's overinflated, but they have been persecuted and kicked out of a lot of fucking places.
1936, the tension explodes. The Great Arab Revolt begins with a general strike. It evolves into armed conflict against both the British and the Jews. It lasts 3 years.
Or you think they're just an easy target because they're different. It's easy, the same way that Donald Trump can, get people to rally around fucking hating brown people. You think they're just like an easy target and be like, hey, they're different. They worship a different God. They did it,
Years. It leaves approximately 5,000 Palestinian Arabs and 500 Jews dead. But beyond the death toll, the revolt has a less visible and more devastating consequence for the Palestinians. Arab political leadership is fragmented, exiled, weakened, precisely when it would need to be most united.
Just lower numbers.
Arrives in 1947 and 48. The Palestinians will not have a cohesive leadership to face it. From 1939 to 1945, Europe lives through the Holocaust. 6 million Jews murdered by Nazi Germany and its collaborators. 1/3 of the entire Jewish people on Earth. Entire families. Entire communities. The Jewish cultural world of Central and Eastern Europe, which had flourished for centuries. Destroyed. After 1945, the world faces a question that has no easy answer. What do you do with the survivors? Hundreds of thousands of Jews lived in displaced persons camps across Europe with no home, no family, no country willing to take them back. Many nations, including the United States, maintained immigration quotas that excluded most of them. And Zionism, which before the war was an important but minority movement within Judaism, becomes the dominant aspiration of a generation that had seen with its own eyes what happens to a people without a state. The pressure to open Palestine to Jewish immigration becomes morally irresistible. But there are 1.2 million Arabs living in Palestine. And here is the structural tragedy of the problem. The solution to European anti-Semitism, a Jewish state, would be built on the territory of people who had not committed European anti-Semitism. There is no way to present that fact that is comfortable for everyone.
This says the number 109 is overinflated, but it said they did face genuine severe expulsions and systematic persecution in medieval and modern history. They were banned from all of England in 1290, banned from all of Spain in 1492. Were driven by political scapegoating, debt cancellation by monarchs, and religious coercion rather than any collective behavior of the Jewish population. Jesus Christ. So in 1231, they expand from Leicester. 1253, the Jews of Vienna, France were expelled under the order of the Pope. 1275, King Edward permits his mother, Eleanor of Providence, to expel Jews from her dowager lands, including Cambridge, Gloucester, Marlborough, and Worcester. 1276, Jews expelled from Bavaria. 1287, expels Jews from Gascony. 1288, Naples issues the first expulsion of Jews in southern Italy. 1289, King Salerno expels Jews from Maine and Anjou. 1290, King Edward of England issues the Edict of Expulsion for all Jews in England. 1294, the Jews of Bern, Switzerland were expelled. 1360, Jews expelled from Hungary. 1392, Jews expelled from Switzerland again. 1420, orders the imprisonment and forcible conversion to Christianity of all Jews in Austria. 1442, Jews again expelled from Upper Bavaria. 1478, Jews expelled from Passau. 1491, Jews of Ravenna expelled, synagogues all destroyed. 1492, Ferdinand II, Isabel I issued the Alhambra Decree, General Edict of Expulsion of the Jews from Castile and Aragon and Sicily. 1495, Charles VIII of France occupies the Kingdom of Naples, bringing new persecution against Jews, many of whom were refugees from his expulsion in Spain. 1496, Jews expelled from Portugal. Maximilian I, the Holy Roman Emperor, issues decrees expelling all Jews from Styria. And Weiner Neustadt. 1498, Jews expelled from Navarre. 1439, Jews expelled from Nuremberg. 1510, Jews expelled from Naples. 1515, Jews expelled from Dubrovnik. 1519, Jews expelled from Regensburg. 1526, Jews expelled from Pressburg, Bratislava, the wake of the defeat of the Kingdom of Hungary by the Ottoman Empire. 1551, all remaining Jews expelled from the Duchy of Bavaria. 1569, Pope Pius V expels Jews from the Papal States. 1593, Pope Clement VIII expels Jews living in Papal States except for Rome, Avignon, and Ancona. Jews are invited to settle in Leghorn, the main part of Tuscany. 1597, 900 Jews are expelled from Milan. 1614, Jews expelled from Frankfurt, the Holy Roman Empire, following the plundering of Junden Gassi. 1654, the fall of the Dutch colony of Recife in Brazil to the Portuguese prompted the Jewish arrival in New Amsterdam, the first group of Jews to flee to North America. 1669, Jews expelled from Vienna, subsequently forbidden to settle in Austria or any of its hereditary lands. 1679, Jews throughout Yemen were expelled from their towns, villages, and sent to a desert place in what is known as the Mausa exile. 1685, Jews expelled from that's a lot of places to get kicked out of, you know what I mean? Like there had to be something going on.
In 1947, Britain, exhausted, indebted, unable to control the escalating...
Like some type of conspiracy or some type of other power or something. Like it's just crazy that for all these years they're getting kicked out of everywhere. I'm not saying they did something like the white nationalists are like, yeah, it's because they were shady and they were destroying countries and bank loans but like for some reason there was like all this fucking hate going on way back then. It's like their stepchild, redheaded stepchild or some shit.
Violence from all sides announces it will hand the problem over to the United Nations. The UN creates a special committee. The committee travels to Palestine. It listens to Jews. It listens to Arabs. It assesses the territory. And it arrives at a solution. Divide Palestine into 2 states. On November the 29th, 1947, the UN General Assembly passes...
The pogroms in Russia were pretty crazy. Like 3 million Jews fucking all get thrown out of Russia and into like Eastern Europe.
Resolution 181, the Partition Plan. A Jewish state would receive 56% of the territory. An Arab state would receive 43%. Jerusalem would be placed under international administration. At that moment, Jews were about 1/3 of the total population and owned less than 7% of the land in Palestine. The Jewish Agency, the proto-government of the future Jewish state, accepts the plan, with reservations, viewing it as a starting point, not a final boundary. Arab Palestinian leaders and the neighboring Arab states reject it. For the Palestinians, who were about 70% of the population, receiving 43% of the territory was unacceptable. They had not been consulted on the Balfour Declaration. They had not committed the Holocaust. And now they were expected to cede more than half their land to solve a problem that Europe had created. That argument has a clear logic. The Jewish argument has one too. With the passage of the Partition Plan, the war begins immediately. Not in May 1948, in December 1947. Attacks and counterattacks between Jewish and Arab communities erupt across the territory. It is a civil war that precedes the international war. In April 1948, Jewish military forces launch what is known as Plan Dalet, an offensive to consolidate control over the territories allocated to the future Jewish state and some areas beyond those boundaries. On April the 9th, 1948, Jewish militias attack the village of Deir Yassin on the outskirts of Jerusalem. More than 100 Palestinians are killed. The massacre at Deir Yassin is a turning point. News spreads through Arab communities across Palestine. Panic accelerates what was already an ongoing fight. On May the 14th, 1948, at 4 in the afternoon, David Ben-Gurion gives a speech at the Tel Aviv Museum. He proclaims the state of Israel. 11 minutes later, the United States recognizes the new state.
11 minutes later.
May the 15th, the armies of Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon cross the borders and attack. For Israel, what followed was the Milhemet Ha'atzmaut, the War of Independence. For Palestinians, it was the Nakba, In Arabic, the catastrophe. Both names describe the same set of events. The difference is the point of view. When the war ends in 1949, the numbers tell the story. Israel controls 78% of the territory of Mandatory Palestine, significantly more than the 56% allocated by the UN plan. And between 600,000 and more than 700,000 Palestinians left their homes. Some fled out of fear of the fighting and the violence. Some were expelled by Israeli military forces. Some left their homes intending to return when the war was over and found they could not go back. Since the 1980s, Israeli historians, known as the New Historians, gained access to declassified Israeli military archives. Benny Morris, one of the most important among them, documented that there were deliberate expulsions in several cases, alongside flight driven by fear and the chaos of war. The debate about the precise causes of each individual case continues to this day. What is not in debate is the outcome. 700,000 people without a home. In December 1948, the United Nations...
I don't know who the fuck you're talking to. I don't know who the fuck you're talking... I'm talking about ancient Jewish people. I don't know who the fuck you're talking to or what you're talking about. Seems like you want to talk about it a lot, but I have no fucking idea.
Passes Resolution 194, recognizing the right of return of Palestinian refugees. More than 75 years later, that right has never been implemented. The refugees and their descendants, today counted at more than 5 million by UNRWA, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, live in camps in Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, the West Bank, Gaza, waiting. About 150,000 Palestinians remained inside the borders of the new state of Israel. They and their descendants make up today about 21% of the Israeli population. They are Israeli citizens with voting rights and representation in parliament, with a history that does not fit easily.
Okay, well, we're not. That's not what the show's about. That's not what this is about. That's what none of this is about. You're arguing with a fucking person that doesn't exist. I'm glad you won the argument with yourself. You win.
Into any simple narrative. Let's return to the question.
I'm no fan of fucking Israel. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. We're watching a video about disputes over the land. That's probably best.
We started with.
God damn.
The same strip of land accumulates such deep and legitimate claims from two different peoples at the same time.
Are you fucking blind? Get the fuck out of here.
History. The Israelites lived here, were expelled, never forgot. The Arabs arrived, intermingled, stayed. They built lives, families, cities, for centuries. The Jewish diaspora carried the memory of a home that had not existed as a state since the year 135 AD. Palestinians carry the memory of a home that existed and was lost in 1948. Two kinds of longing, two kinds of loss, in a space that cannot hold them both at the same time. In 1948, humanity attempted to solve that problem by dividing the land. It didn't work. What happened after 1948?
I don't think you can quench their desire to just own it all. I don't think it seems like you could get reasonable people in there. It's like, hey, we can fucking live together on both sides.
The wars, the occupations, the peace agreements, the attacks.
We have nowhere to go, either one of us, right? Even on the Arab side, no one will give them citizenship or take refugees. We have nowhere to fucking go.
The uprisings, the settlements, and October 7th, 2023 is the story of how that attempt failed and why it keeps failing. That is the subject of the next video. But before you go, one question.
Insane, dude.
If you
stand over there fucking killing each other.
In November 1947, knowing everything we know now, how would you have voted? And what does that say about the impossibility of certain historical decisions? The history we just covered spans 5,000 years. Every period we looked at, the Canaanites, the Israelite kingdoms, Rome.
And they all basically came from the Canaanites, it would seem.
Islam, the Crusaders, the Ottomans, the British Mandate, 1948, has been simplified. There is a lot more. If you want to go deeper into any of these periods, the sources are in the description, including the historians who disagree with each other, because they do, and you deserve to know that. The next video starts in 1948 and goes to the present day. It is harder, more recent, more painful, and more important.
I do want to watch this, but I promised we would watch this. Remember where we parked, chat? I promised we'd watch this interview with Max Miller, the guy who basically abuses his wife and kids, allegedly. And his excuse so far has been, they're like, are you going to drop out? And he's like, look, I saw people claim the same stuff against Trump. He didn't drop out. People appreciate when you stand up against it. So Trump's a piece of shit, still got elected. So you're saying, well, I can still get elected. Is that what's going on here?
So, Congressman, let's start there with
Jake Tapper, Max Miller.
Father-in-law's story today about your daughter and the little blue bunny doll that she cannot sleep without. If it's true, that sounds like emotionally abusive.
So the blue bunny story just came out. And if you guys haven't seen this, he released text messages to try to prove that he wasn't the blue bunny thing, but also it says that he wouldn't give back the blue bunny. It's his daughter's fucking favorite. He withheld his toddler's blue bunny. Let's see. Here's some screenshots from the parenting coordinator of Miller and Marino. Seems to say Miller adamantly refuses to give this bunny back. I'm not coddling him. I advised him to let your dad get the bunny, preferably from the mailbox, but he adamantly refuses. But I've suggested you keep the bunny at your house to avoid these situations because, unfortunately, in a high-conflict divorce, these situations often blow up. Like, why the fuck would you withhold your kid's favorite stuffed animal? Let the kid, if you both got visitation, let the bunny travel, dude. What the fuck? Max, can blank please have her bunny back? She's had it since birth. She sleeps with it every night, carries it around the house, and sees it as a source of comfort. You have always delivered it back to me when you drop her off. Please don't punish blank if you're upset with me. I am willing to pick it up from your house, your mailbox. You can drop it in my mailbox, please. Thank you, Emily. You're choosing to not return our daughter's favorite toy for another reason. That's just cruel. Pam, for no apparent reason, Max is not returning the blue bunny to Emily. Dr. Korak tried to get the blue bunny back. Dr. K made clear that despite her recommendation, the blue bunny stays with the blue bunny stays with Emily. Max refuses to return it. Why must this be a controversy? This is totally ridiculous. Please have Max return the bunny forthwith. Thank you. Evidently, I was supposed to get blank blue bunny at pickup. She's asking for it. Do you have it by any chance? You can go through the parent coordinator. I'm sure I'll see this one at the next hearing. If you need anything, have Emily call Dr. Korik. I have no notes or record of what you're referring to. They respond and says it's the blue bunny she sleeps with, but got it. Like multiple people have reached out to him just to get a fucking stuffed animal. Wild.
Behavior toward a toddler to refuse to give it to her when she can't sleep without it.
Jake, I would agree that if that were true, that would be incredibly disturbing and that the senator would be right. However, he has taken 2 years to publicly acknowledge for me to resign from my seat. Why is that, Jake? If he truly believed, like I'm a father to a 2.5-year-old daughter, I believe that you're also a father to children. And I don't know if you're actually a father to a daughter. But what I can tell you is, well, Jake, then what I can tell you is that if my daughter came to me and she said my ex-husband did X, Y, and Z, and then I waited because I was nervous that a political live stream was going to expose a deeply impersonal, embarrassing matter to the senator for him to take that action, sadly, this has nothing to do with my daughter, Jake, and that's what this entire thing is about. This is nothing more.
You can't prove that he wasn't trying to handle this not publicly, right? He's just now decided to come out publicly and say, hey, you're a piece of shit, right? But, that would be horrible. But why does it take people 2 years to say how horrible it is publicly?
More than an individual.
Immediately, buy another blue bunny, right? Tell her it's the same one. Distress it in the same ways and have one at each house. Who gives a fuck? But to have the kid do without is the craziest part.
Who's being politically vindictive and talking about a blue bunny when I have text messages I can show you from our parent coordinator, who is a mandatory court reporter, who said that Mr. Moreno would be coming over my home, and then another individual came who I don't know.
Well, first of all, Congressman, you're faulting him for both not saying anything for 2 years.
When Liam was little, he was like almost autistic over Lightning McQueen. He probably had, I swear, at one time he probably had 200 different Lightning McQueen cars. And he had Flat Tire McQueen and Ka-Chow McQueen and Rusty's McQueen. He had a name for each one of them. And he would literally flip the fuck out if he left one somewhere. Like when he was going through them and being like, where's Ka-Chow McQueen? Where's this one? He would leave them places and shit. We'd try to replace them. Whatever, you know. Will would fall off. I'd try to fucking glue it back together, but he loved that shit. There's no way I would withhold it from him.
And for saying something in the last 2 days.
Every McQueen he gave a different name to. He didn't care about like Tomater or any of the other characters. It was just the Lightning McQueens. He had everyone he didn't have. We would have to buy it when we went out. He would want it or whatever. And he would leave some of them over at Mariah's mom's house. Sometimes we'd be like, oh, they're on a sleepover. We'll get them next time, just because he forgot them so he wouldn't freak out. And then one year for Christmas, he started asking for something we couldn't even fucking understand. And what he was saying, I don't remember what we thought he was saying, but we finally figured out that he was saying the word banshee. We finally figured out he was saying the word banshee. And from that, we figured it out, you know, it had something to do with cars. And then I started doing research, and it turned out there was this toy, or there was this character in the movie when they go cow tipping. There is a car that like chases them down. And that is the Screaming Banshee. And there was a toy made of it one time. He found it on YouTube. But this toy at the time was only made for fucking 6 months or some shit. And the factory burnt down. And it was like this super fucking collector item. We finally did find one on eBay for a Christmas present one year because that's all he fucking asked for. And it ended up, it was kind of damaged. It was in rough shape. And we still paid like $200 or some dollars for this thing. I'll show you what it looked like, if I can find it. They ended up reproducing them later on, but at the time, they were really hard to come by. It was this. But it's the only thing he asked for Christmas. One year, all he asked for was fortune cookies. A bag of fortune. So it has like this claw, and you pick up the cars, and it like eats them, and then you can make it poop them out the back. Yeah. But this Japanese factory that made them burnt down during their first production run, and there were like hardly any of them that existed in the world at the time, and cars was super popular at the time, so it was really hard to get a hold of, but now you can buy them apparently. But I'd have done anything to try to fucking, I mean, if I could afford it or make a way or find a way to, you know, try to give him what he wanted.
It's possible he didn't say anything because his daughter didn't want him to say anything because he didn't want this to become any more of a spectacle than it's become.
You could say that, but also dealing with this in a private family matter, then why couldn't we had a conversation a year ago? If Mr. Moreno felt this was the case, why do we now have to be here on national TV exposing all of our personal family drama? Why didn't he come to me and say, Max, I don't believe privately that you should be in the United States Congress and that you need to look for a pathway out, and I do believe my daughter.
I don't know, but it's not really the issue, though, right? The issue is, the one I asked you about is, did you hold this doll hostage? Because that is emotionally abusive behavior.
Mr. Tapper, no. And just furthermore than that, there have been 2 investigations that have already been looked into me, and I would like to just have a little bit of a moment to explain. The first investigation that was looked into me was that my ex-wife, Emily Moreno, filed a report of child abuse against me. That first incident, 2 individuals were held liable for abusing my daughter at a daycare, which I have a private settlement agreement from. I was found not guilty. They looked at my fingerprints. They made me take off my shirt. They made me look at my body to make sure that I didn't abuse my daughter, and that was number 1, Mr. Tapper. Number 2, when I was reported for child abuse for my daughter for a broken collarbone, my daughter was in my ex-wife's care 9 out of the last 11 days, and she took her to the emergency room, which is a contempt violation from our shared parenting plan. Furthermore than that, Mr. Tapper, is this. These matters have already been looked into. Ms. Moreno has already gone to the police. The police are not investigating it. Ask yourself, why aren't they investigating these things? You see yourself, I am not getting any special treatment. I have never done these things. These things have already been investigated. Yeah. I have no police reports looked into me, and we actually have evidence, unlike the other side. And so, you know, it's an honor for me to have a platform like this to continue to fight and to continue to show the American people that I've already been looked into. Right. I'm happy to be looked into again.
Is there anything that your ex-wife or your former father-in-law, Senator Moreno, say about you that is true? I mean, Senator Moreno said on Sunday that you have admitted privately that you need to get help.
This is the unfortunate part about this.
Uh-oh.
Only one person between myself and Emily Moreno who's been actually diagnosed with a medical condition.
But have you ever said
that? That's not me. Yes, and I have it in her own words.
But have you said it? Have you ever said that you need to get help, that you need to see a counselor?
No, not to him, no.
No, to anyone. Have you said it to Emily?
Oh, well, Jake, I think a lot of people within this country see a therapist. I've been seeing a therapist over the last decade of my life. This isn't anything new. I don't know why this would be any more important than anything else. I think it's healthy to talk to somebody and to share what's going on within your life and to work through problems.
He's abusive, I think.
For someone to seek therapy, to go through something. And yes, Jake, I've been seeking therapy for the last 10 years of my life, and I'm proud and honored to admit that.
When you did your live stream on Twitter or X on Sunday, you said you were doing so to protect your daughter. And you did so, and you also released a Dropbox on X with files involving your family to show that you were a good dad. Now, one of the files was an image of your...
He keeps digging a hole, but he thinks it doesn't matter because Trump got elected with all his allegations. He can get elected with his. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to back down, apparently.
Daughter naked. And it was available in that Dropbox for a day involving your family to show that you were so...
They accidentally released fucking nude photos of his own daughter.
and you did so, and you also released a Dropbox on X with files involving your family to show that you were a good dad. Now, one of the files was an image of your daughter naked, and it was available in that Dropbox for a day before that photograph was removed.
He posted he was posting photos to show that his daughter was happy with him. He posted a nude photo of his daughter to the internet. Who takes photos of your child? Well, I mean, it's pretty common to have like a weird bathtub or something photo or whatever, like family photos. Lots of families have those. I don't think that you should publish them on the internet, but...
An image that your ex-wife's attorney says could qualify as child sexual abuse material. Your attorney has said that he is the one who did that, and he apologizes, but it is shockingly reckless behavior by you and your team.
I wouldn't say that it's shockingly reckless. That photo that was put in there is actually a part of an investigation by the Child and Family Protective Services, and that is already public knowledge that people can go and they can look through court-reported mandates. This is being taken very much out of context.
You can't go through court reporting and get nude photos of a child. That's not true.
There was no genitalia of my daughter that was exposed, and this is once again a very salacious headline.
It's not publicly available. We called the court today. It's not publicly available. But your attorney...
100% it's not publicly available. Shut the fuck up.
Apologized.
I'm not defending it. It's awful.
You just defended it. You said it was taken out of context.
Well, because it is taken out of context in terms of how the articles have been written about it. I didn't do this. My attorney took full responsibility. I believe that it's awful. There was never any intent to do that. What I did on Sunday, okay, Jake, I went on CNN with Lauren Fox for a 45-minute interview about a month ago.
Right.
And
you ran some of it.
Right. You ran some of it, but only 6 minutes of that interview was played.
That's how
the reason
works.
I know, Jake, but here's the deal, okay? She asked me a question, and she asked me a very laced question and said, your ex-father-in-law and your ex-wife say that your daughter is terrified to go to your home. Every single time they say she's terrified. I then played Lauren Fox three separate audio videos of my daughter saying, I do not want to go to mommy's, I do not want mommy's, and I do not feel safe. None of that made it out there. Why?
Because that is why, without her permission, is my understanding of it.
No, it's a one-party consent in the state of Ohio. And this is what I've had to do in order to get my truth out. I mean, you could say this is what the media does. They take a 45-minute interview and they clip it to 6 minutes of what they want the American people to see. That's why I did the live stream to lay everything out.
But
I'm not hiding.
Congressman, I'm not talking about whether or not it was legal or illegal to record your ex-wife. I'm saying that the reason we didn't air it is because it was our understanding that the recording was done without her permission. That's something else. That's discretion. That's journalism. That's not a question of legality. But let's talk about it, because there is a police report from the suspected child abuse incident in February involving your daughter, and that report details that the child protection team says that your child had a right clavicle fracture and, quote, a bruise that accompanies the injury that appears to be in a handprint and appears to have been inflicted, unquote. Now, your ex-wife stated to police that your child told her in the days leading up to the discovery of the injury, quote, Daddy, kill you. And your ex-wife also said your child had said, Daddy angry and Daddy's house is scary. Now, according to your wife, your daughter articulated these statements to children in faith services. So can you explain why your child may have said those things?
Jake, I wish you could talk to my beautiful baby girl. She can't string together sentences like that. She's 2.5 years old. She doesn't have the ability to articulate any of what you just said. That is an entire fabrication of the truth. I have actual video, actual documentation.
But didn't you just
I have
tell me
been
that
through two
you just told me
investigations.
that she had said that she was scared to go to mommy's house?
She is, and I have video of it.
But now you're saying that
Wait. I have a video of my daughter saying, I'm scared to go to mommy's house. I don't want to go. I don't like it at mommy's house. But she can't say daddy's scary. Are you stupid? She can't say daddy's scary.
She's not capable of saying daddy kill you? I mean, it seems like she's either able to say one but not the other. That doesn't make sense.
Jake, to be very direct, this is incredibly disturbing. I am not going to my child to say, Daddy, kill you. You have to look at the timing of everything that is taking place, right? What about due process?
No, answer the question. You claim you've got 3 separate videos of your daughter on camera saying that she doesn't want to go to mommy's house, that mommy's house is scary, she doesn't want to leave. But when they have evidence saying the exact same thing about you, you're like, my kid is incapable of saying any of those things. She can't make a sentence. She can't say those words. It's impossible.
I have already been through these investigations, and I know that I've said that now 3 times, and we're kind of just blowing past this. But these are individuals who do their jobs to protect kids. And the main job of the court, and the main job of Child Protective Family Services, and the main job of our judge who has been appointed to our divorce case is to make sure that our daughter is safe. And every single one of those individuals has agreed with me. I have full shared parenting. I still have full medical parenting, half. I still have full half education. If any of these things were true, Jake, a judge would have taken our baby girl out of my hands. What you have is a very sadly politically motivated scenario to where, people want to see me go away, and all of this happened, and I'm not joking. Yeah. Take it for what you want. Look, this live stream, the impetus for the resignation, okay,
in 2020
came because an individual thought something was going to be said on that live stream that I had no intention of saying, and I still do not have any intention.
But here's the thing. You're talking about a level of standard of proof that has to do with judges, and there is separately a different level when it comes to what kind of behavior is tolerated among public officials, because there are now 3 women 3 women who have accused you of violent behavior. Politico published a report in 2021 that says when you were in high school, you, quote, pushed a girl out of the dorm of his room and she fell down some stairs after he became enraged when she resisted his attempts to touch her, according to 3 people who were there and many more who heard about the incident in the aftermath. Now, you deny that, but the woman in question told Mother Jones reporter Abby Basulis just days ago that it happened and was, quote, one of the more traumatic nights of her life. Now,
I would love that individual to go on the record because that...
Okay.
I was
hold on, because I'm not done with the list of women that have accused you of violence. Then there's former White House press secretary. Okay.
That was 13 years ago. And if you shoved a woman down the stairs, do we care that it was 13 years ago?
You were young. Then there's former White House press secretary Stephanie Grisham, who was your ex-girlfriend. She accused you of being abusive and having a violence. She wrote in her book, quote, I could do nothing right by him. I would wake up every morning shaking with anxiety about his mood that day. I had seen his temper before and it had scared me, unquote. She has recently filed a temporary restraining order against you in a defamation case. And now there are these claims from your ex-wife, Emily Marino. And I guess the question is, are all 3 of these women who don't know each other, are all 3 of them lying?
Yes, it's very easy, and I can tell you why. Every single time, and people have asked me, what are you going to do? Are you going to drop out of this race? Are you going to resign? Are you going to get out before the deadline? And my answer to you, Jake, is no, and I can tell you why. In 2016, when President Donald J. Trump faced the most extreme...
Are you going to drop out of this race? No, and here's why.
Are you going to get out before the deadline? And my answer to you, Jake, is no, and I can tell you why. In 2016, when President Donald J. Trump faced the most extreme allegations in the world that hit him day after day after day, and people in the media, very much like yourself and others, said that he would have no shot at winning, that he should not be the president of the United States. But guess what? He stayed in and he was resilient. And what the American people can see is that they can see that somebody is fighting who is resilient, and that is a quality that the American people cherish. And so for no second am I going to sit here and continue to be debased by false and baseless allegations and be pushed out of a seat I have worked so hard to represent and done a terrific job for our community. My record in Congress on the Ways and Means and House Foreign Affairs and bringing back money for our district and standing up for the Ukrainian people and also voting to protect Obamacare during this entire time. This is why no one's attacking me on my policy, Jake, because they can't. I've been a good legislator. All they're trying to do is...
Okay, so I beat some women, okay? I'm going to beat these charges just like I beat all those women.
Create rumor mills without evidence. It's all hearsay.
But look, you can't challenge me on my policies, right? You can't challenge my policies, so all you got to do is say, oh, he beats women. Well, is that true?
All hearsay.
Do you realize what it's not hearsay if it is firsthand testimony from women, and I just named 3 people that are providing firsthand testimony. That's not hearsay. But do you realize what it is in terms of how tall an order it is for voters and your colleagues and everybody watching right now to believe that 3 women who don't know each other made up accusations of you being violent, and you are telling the truth here, they are lying? That is a difficult thing for people to believe, right?
No, not in this instance, because every single one of these things that you're brought up, unlike other candidates throughout the country, I've already had investigations into. The domestic abuse allegation that you're referring to against my ex-wife, Department of Child and Family Services already reviewed that, and they viewed that nothing happened. Bay Village Police Department, Ms. Moreno filed the police report. The prosecutor looked at it. They looked at it for a very long time. There was nothing there. My case is much different than everyone else that has been laid out before. Yes, I have tangible evidence, and I have also had investigations that have cleared me of every single thing that you have mentioned, to be clear.
Let's talk about this, because in the custody lawsuit, there was a discovery phase, and Emily Marino's lawyers asked you a series of questions about past alleged incidents, and some of them you denied outright. No, that's not true. No, that's not true. And others you refused to answer at all. Your lawyers claimed they were not relevant, and the ones you didn't answer include the incident involving the stairs or your past alleged drug use. If you ever referred to the birth of your child as, quote, setting your playground on fire. If you were ever kicked out of college, you wouldn't answer them. I mean, I can tell you that I never did any of those things. Why can't you?
Because, well, Jake, if you're wondering, I'm happy to answer those
I should say I have smoked marijuana. Right. I'm sorry, I take that back. I have smoked pot before it was legal. So getting it all out on the table.
Yeah, and that's great. So have I. And I don't think, previously when I was younger or even, a few years ago, there's anything wrong with cannabis use, as it's legal in 39 out of 50 states.
In the Mother Jones story, it said when you were picked up for drunk driving, you had ecstasy in your system.
Look, once again, these are already investigations, and we're bringing up things from 15 to 20 years ago.
Why wouldn't you answer those?
It doesn't matter. Answer.
Questions in discovery. Why wouldn't you answer the questions about whether or not you would push that girl down the stairs?
Well, because it never happened. Why would I give something credibility and answer for something that never happened?
But you did that for other. You did that for other questions.
So just answer.
I don't know who you're.
No, I didn't. See how easy that is.
And so, through this journey.
What the fuck? Shut up, Sean Ron.
Referencing, unless these people actually put a name to these allegations and come forward, I don't know how the American people can continue to believe things like this. When's the
last time you ever used illegal drugs? Because you're being
drugs?
Yes, because you're being investigated right now by the House Ethics Committee.
The last time, I would have to say, the last time I had illegal drugs would have been, I don't know, several years ago. I mean, I don't have a time frame on it, but I don't use illegal drugs. No, Jake, this is what they're doing, okay? This whole, needles thing, this is testosterone replacement therapy. People are painting this as something that it's not. Secretary Hegseth, who is the Secretary of War just 3 weeks ago, allowed our entire military, who are males, to take testosterone replacement therapy. That's what I was doing. I have not been using any illegal drugs. This is nonsense, and this is much more of how Mr. Moreno and and my ex-wife are continuing to put this stuff out there.
Well, I think it's because there are three women that I think it's because there are three women that have alleged violence. I don't think any of this is actually about illegal drugs at all. I think it's because three women have alleged violent behavior by you, and two of them are fairly high profile on the record women.
Jake, once again, the one part that I'm never going to back down from and that the American people need to continue to look at is, number one, I have had 2 full investigations that lasted almost a year into these child abuse allegations and into these domestic abuse allegations, okay? And
you say you'll never back down from it, but you sued Stephanie Grisham for defamation and then you back down from that suit, right?
No, that's not true. There was a settlement agreement, and so I would love to talk to you about that, but I can't. And so, but I didn't back down from that, and it was settled, and there's a reason for that, and that's all I can say regarding it.
Let me ask you,
but if you're asking,
you spoke with the president yesterday. Did he tell you what he is telling aides privately, that he does not think you can win?
Look, the conversation I had with him yesterday at 9 a.m., and I've gotten a million phone calls about this, and this is what's so troubling. Look, he called me and he said, Maxie, it's going to be a tough race. And he said, I don't know if you're going to be able to, pull this one out. And you know what, Jake? I reminded him of the same resilience that he had when people told him that he was going to struggle in 2016, and he became the 45th president of the United States. And I have the utmost confidence that my constituents back home.
Is he reading a statement?
No.
He suddenly started looking down.
This isn't about what the national media thinks. This isn't about what people in California or New York.
He's reading a statement now.
Florida think about what goes on in Ohio 7. What you're going to see here, Jake, is that I am going to be successful in this November because my constituents know who I am, and they also know who my ex-father-in-law is, and they also know who my ex-wife is. And that's why you've seen people aren't running from me. My numbers in fundraising are strong.
Victim blaming.
Speaker Mike Johnson, everyone else, they're standing behind me. No one has told me to get off the ballot, and that's because they know I can win this seat and see this through. That's what we're going to do.
Let me ask you one last question, and I do appreciate your taking the questions here. Yeah. Is there anyone in your life, whether it's Republican leadership or your family or your girlfriend or anyone, is there anyone saying...
Now he's making eye contact suddenly again to listen to the question.
It really might be in the best interests for your daughter and for your own mental health to drop out, take a moment. You're still a young guy. You can always come back. That it might be actually in your best interests to drop out and your daughter's best interests?
You know what? That is a question, Jake, I have been struggling with, look, over the last couple of weeks. But I'm going to look at you the same way I think you would look at me if you were in my shoes, which is I am never going to give up. And what I mean by that is my daughter's going to grow up one day, and she's going to see all of this. And she's not going to see that her father caved to political and social media pressures for something that he never did. And furthermore than that, there are more than 50% of the people within this country who are divorced. And men get a really bad shake when it comes to family court. And it's not addressed in any way possible. And so
there it is.
I can tell you is that I've received more support than ever from our community, from the people where I live. And that is why we are going to stay in this race and be successful. And you're right, the allegations, they're incredibly troubling. I agree they're troubling, but if they were true, I'd be in prison. And there's the only reason out of myself and other Republican colleagues that I'm the only one that doesn't have an active investigation into it. And so at the end of the day, I let the truth speak for itself, and the truth is right there. And I will never, ever let my baby girl see her dad walk away as a quitter. I will continue to finish this, and if I have to run all the way to the end and I'm not successful, Jake, then that's a decision that I decide to make, and I can hold my head way up high knowing that I fought for the truth no matter what circumstances and no matter what came my way every single day, that Ruthie Miller will know that she's proud of her dad who bears my last name.
But you understand that the reason that this is a story is because it's not the first time a woman that you've been intimate with has accused you of violence and abuse. That's the reason. Now, it has nothing to do with political vendettas. It has nothing to do with Senator Marino. It has to do with the fact that there are 2 women on the record and a third.
You can't blame politics on all the other women, right?
Who has talked to reporters or a reporter about what happened in high school.
And all I can tell you is this, Jake, is that I hope that you and the rest of the media do the same amount of digging as you are into me as you will into those other 2. Because as you can see right now, and I understand I'm the member of Congress, so deservedly so, the spotlight, the attention, the media, but throughout this process objectively, how come people aren't asking the tough questions out of them? I mean, it's been a free runway of just me being a punching bag without articulating my points and presenting the evidence that we have here today.
They're not accused of physically abusing you. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Well, Jake, I got to tell you, in this country, due process is a thing, and everyone is entitled to it. And once again, I have been absolved of these claims that you continuously are bringing back up.
Absolved.
The recent one with Ms. Moreno.
I've been absolved.
Again, the Department of Child and Family Services and Bay Village Police Department took her report. They investigated everything that she said. Both the Bay Village Police Department and both the Child and Family Services. And you can see right now, I'm not getting any special treatment, Jake. Okay. So if I really did those things, why wouldn't I be in prison? It's because it's an extreme fabrication of the truth. And look, at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to push. I am going to win this race, and my daughter will see that her father is going to be back in there. And then when we come back next term, my hope is you and I can have other conversations that will be a lot better than this about how we can move our country forward.
Republican Congressman Max Miller, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we trust him? I don't trust him at all. He sounds like a fucking piece of shit to me.
The president has publicly criticized U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro for her decision to drop the reflecting pool case. Do you agree with the move to dismiss the charges against David Hearn?
So I think that
and we keep freezing.
U.S. Attorney Pirro, over the past year and a half that she's been there, year plus, has led an unprecedented effort to literally just turn this city on its head, to be a safe place for all of us to live and eat, and so I've watched the communication that President Trump, who has every right to be extraordinarily frustrated with damage done to our national monuments and in this city and elsewhere, but Judge Pirro is doing a great job, and our city, Washington D.C., is a lot safer in no small part to her effort and the prosecutor's efforts.
He rambles so much.
What message does it send, though, if President Trump fires a U.S. attorney because she determined there was not sufficient evidence to charge 4 people with a crime?
Did he fire her?
I mean, what message would it send? I said, if
hypothetically, if the president chose to fire a United States attorney, it turns out he's allowed to do that because he's the president of the United States.
Oh, okay.
So I don't. And by the way, if President Trump wanted to fire anybody, right, and within his administration, he understands he has the power to do that. So when he makes a decision about whether to fire a U.S. attorney or anybody else, that's his.
That was Todd Blanche flailing when asked what should be some pretty easy questions if you're, the nation's top law enforcement official, contending with whether or not an innocent man should continue to be prosecuted even after it's become clear that he's innocent. And yet still.
Now, while we're talking about these filings, I want to grab a different video. We might come back to this one, we might not, but check this out. Our civics guy did some deep diving into this. Not only does this clear David Hearn, it probably clears everybody else that's been charged. And there is there's going to be a big meeting. They're blending it all into one case. There's going to be a big meeting, evidentiary meeting. And there's a really sketchy thing where their only witness came in, testified that there's no way that he could put a value of more than $1,000 worth of damage on it, that it was already damaged when this man touched it, David Hearn. Then they take a break. He leaves and comes back 20 minutes later and says, "Oh yeah, I remember now. It was over $1,000 worth of damage." Just watch.
It just keeps getting crazier and crazier, so I sat down and read through every single document. I'm Brian, I make videos about civics and law, so gather around, my friends, and let me give you a play-by-play. Alright, so we all know Donald Trump hired his pool guy to install a very expensive liner at the bottom of the reflecting pool, and soon after, it was alleged that crazy ne'er-do-wells were running around his beautiful new pool, tearing up the liner and shredding all of that beautiful new work. And on June 19th, David Hearn was arrested and charged with misdemeanor destruction of property, which was later bumped up to felony malicious destruction of property because the government alleged he did more than $1,000 in damage. And that $1,000 claim is what would ultimately sink this whole thing, but it's not the only flaw in this story, believe me. So there are also 3 other defendants: Justin Carreno, Cameron Thiers, and Sophie Elaine Dennison-Gibby. And they were just the beginning, because in the footnotes of these filings, I found other names of people that the feds were planning to charge for vandalizing the pool.
Even more, they were planning on charging.
But they are not going to get the chance now. So all right, that's all in June, and a grand jury was convened in David Hearn's case, and they returned an indictment on felony malicious destruction. So that's $1,000 or more in damage, okay? Well, the motions get started, and David Hearn files a motion to dismiss on July 16th, and he has a pretty good argument here, one that actually might have done perfectly well on its own. He collects videos and news stories showing the government draining and refilling the pool and driving over the lining and putting chemicals in the water and saying, he says, you guys are not going to be able to prove that I did anything by the time we get to discovery. Like, there's nothing left of that liner. What actual damage did I do? If you guys destroy it yourselves, how can you prove that it wouldn't have just fallen apart on its own if you tear it apart? So those chemicals alone might have done more damage than I did. So that's sitting there. This little motion is sitting there. Cool. But honestly, he needn't have bothered, because at some point he requested a copy of the grand jury transcript because
here we go.
It smelled fishy. And he gets it. He takes a look at it, and on June 27th, he files a motion for disclosure of the grand jury transcript, because just because he's seen it doesn't mean anyone else can. He says, okay, hold up. There was only one witness in the grand jury hearing, a park policeman. And he said very clearly that the property was already damaged before Mr. Hearn allegedly touched it.
So the one witness came in and said, well, it was already damaged. He just like I said, he touched a piece that was floating in the water. So clearly it was already damaged. It was floating.
So the sole grand jury witness on damages testified the property was already damaged before Mr. Hearn allegedly touched it, that the same repairs would have been required regardless of Mr. Hearn's conduct, and he could not qualify any loss attributable to that conduct.
He cannot attribute any loss to his conduct. Like, no matter whether he touched it when it was floating or not, the same exact repair would have had to be made, right? It's just, it's a floating piece that's already damaged. It's like an airplane explodes. You find a piece of the fuselage in your backyard and you touch it, and the government tries to charge you for blowing up the airplane. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Interesting, right? Which means the grand jury had no legally sufficient evidence to check that $1,000 loss box. The only witness said he had no evidence of how much the loss cost.
Listen.
No damage and no monetary amount. Like, that's fishy. Like, at least fishy, all right? But oh, if that were the end, folks. Oh, it's so much juicier. Because on June 28th, David Hearn files a supplement to that motion because apparently, whoopsie dizzle, the prosecution accidentally forgot to turn over the last 2 pages of the grand jury transcript.
Oh, they accidentally forgot to turn over the last 2 pages. That's weird.
I am pretty sure they thought that they ate by turning over these last 2 pages because they were going to shut down his argument. If he said there's no evidence of that $1,000, well, guess what, mofo? It turns out that the witness left the room for 20 minutes with the prosecutor, and then the prosecutor brought him back in, and wouldn't you know it, magically his memory changed when he came back in, and all of a sudden his whole story was different. He said, oh yeah.
How fucked up is that? So they originally didn't give him the last 2 pages, but when they did, the last 2 pages say that the witness left the room for recess with the prosecutor, comes back 20 minutes later and suddenly remembers that there was $1,000 worth of damage done.
Yeah, there was $1,000 more of damage. How could I forget that? And then the prosecutor said to the grand jury, and I quote, hopefully that kind of nailed that specific question. End quote. That, my friends.
What? Then he looks at the jury and says, there you go. That kind of nails that question, doesn't it?
Is how you lose your law license. So David Hearn filed this supplement claiming that the prosecutor essentially allowed testimony that they knew or should have known was false or misleading. Meanwhile, the record is full of filings by Janine Pirro trying to get these records sealed so the public can't see them.
And all she's done the whole time is tried to, I don't know, piss on a fucking 4-story building on fire, trying to seal all this. Nobody should see it. Nope, let's keep it quiet. We don't want people to see this because look how bad it looks.
Judge, in what I think is absolutely magical moment of chef's kiss, petty, chaotic energy, files a single page the next day that says all of these cases that are about people charged with vandalism related to the reflecting pool, we're just going to consolidate them into one case and have one shared evidence hearing in a couple days and let you all hash this out together. But the judge.
So the judge put all the cases together under one case and is like, we're doing an evidentiary hearing. It doesn't seem like there's any evidence.
Needn't have bothered. The prosecution filed motions to dismiss in all of those cases within the next 48 hours or so.
What? So once the judge said, I don't think you guys have evidence. I want everybody here, all the people you plan on prosecuting, and you guys to come here and show me what evidence you had. 48 hours later, they're dropping every case.
They've taken a few days to get processed, but slowly they're all disappearing. Now, David Hearn's case is still docketed because unlike the others, he's been formally charged by a grand jury, which means Janine Pirro can't just withdraw those charges. It's too late. But she filed a motion to dismiss this time, which will be heard on September 11th, I think. It takes a little longer to get those scheduled. But meanwhile, the media narrative has been that these cases were withdrawn because the damage came from the bad installation and not from these crazy vandals. And it did. But the reason they're being withdrawn is that the prosecution's only witness said that the damage came from a bad installation and not these crazy vandals on the record weeks ago. And the office pushed forward anyway after encouraging him to possibly perjure himself. So let me tell you guys, this is a fun record to read, and it's hard to find because I had to go into DC Superior Court records to read it. I have them on my website if you look up the Hearn case, or you can go to DC Superior Court. This was about to be a big operation, I think. They were really getting ready to start charging people here and make a big meal out of this, but they fell flat on their tails. So anyway.
All because their one witness told the fucking truth, and then they coached him into telling a lie to push it on through to make Trump happy.
That is the ballad of David Hearn. Please check my support links so I can keep running, particularly consider my Venmo. I would very much appreciate it right now, and keep watching me for more about law and government. The reflecting pool story just keeps.
Sounds about right.
Todd Blanche couldn't bring himself to simply say that he agrees with the decision by Janine Pirro to dismiss the charges because it's not about what's right, it's about what Donald Trump wants to hear. This is all the proof you need that Todd Blanche is not in his position because he'll abide by the law, abide by the Constitution. He is there because he is Trump's puppet. Not that we didn't already have fair warning.
Are you and President Trump friends?
I'm his lawyer, was his lawyer.
So, yeah, I guess there were clues. But I think most remarkable in these exchanges is Blanche being asked for his opinion on the hypothetical and possible scenario where Jeanine Pirro is fired for dropping those charges. Blanche offers only Trump would be allowed to do it. That's what he said. And look, there is a difference between what someone could do and what they should do. The question was not, does Donald Trump have the legal right to fire a U.S. attorney? The question was, what message does it send if Trump fires a U.S. attorney because she determined there was not sufficient evidence to charge four people with a crime? And if the top law enforcement official in the United States of America cannot acknowledge that it is wrong for a president to fire a prosecutor for not continuing to prosecute an innocent man, innocent by the Department of the Interior's own standards, own admission, then that person doesn't have the character for that job, period. Todd Blanche is as corrupt as Trump, which I understand is precisely why he's in that position, but it doesn't make it any less disqualifying. I mean, just think about what it is we're talking about here. This isn't some abstract concept. This isn't theoretical. This is the President of the United States wanting to destroy an innocent man's life, a former U.S. Olympian, no less, because he wanted to make a point. Trump wanted to make a point. Like, forget being devoid of any shred of empathy. This is legitimately sociopathic behavior. And perhaps now you understand how Trump operates. He doesn't care who he has to destroy, so long as his personal ego is protected. He did the same thing with Comar Abrego Garcia. His own government conceded that Garcia's deportation was a mistake, but Trump didn't care because he wanted to make an example out of Garcia. And he's doing the exact same thing here with David Hearn. He wants to be right, and so he would rather prosecute an innocent man, take away his freedom, than ever admit that he was wrong. God forbid. And Todd Blanche, again, the nation's top law enforcement official, cannot bring himself to say that that's wrong. Only deigns to concede that Donald Trump has that right. And as far as Jeanine Pirro is concerned, in a sane world, this would serve as a warning sign to every other Trump acolyte out there that you can debase yourself for this guy to the ends of the earth, and God knows that Jeanine Pirro has, but in the end, it buys you nothing. And that's because Donald Trump demands total loyalty, complete loyalty. He doesn't care if it destroys your career. Hell, he doesn't just care if it takes away your freedom. You are his tool to wield. That's it. And if you dare think about yourself for even a single second, then you will be summarily discarded, thrown right under the bus. Again, Pirro literally had no choice here. The Department of the Interior already let the cat out of the bag. If Pirro didn't drop the charges, she would be knowingly prosecuting someone who she knew was innocent by the administration's own admission. But of course, Trump wasn't, concerned about that. His reaction wasn't relief that an innocent man wasn't going to go to prison. He was furious that he personally got contradicted. And the fact that Todd Blanche can go along with this with a straight face goes to show that you can have integrity or you can serve Trump in this White House, but clearly not both. You're watching the No Lie podcast. Next up is my interview with Norm Eisen. No Lie is brought to you by Simply Safe. So working in politics.
There you go. All right, I got an ad for you before we go. It's 1:30 here, but let's see if we can play this. Latest round of GOP ads are coming out.
Are you sick of transgender migrants running across your backyard? Are you sick of your bitch-ass neighbor calling the cops every time you go out back and shoot their dog? Are you tired of these Muslim teachers instilling Sharia law inside of our daycare centers? Are you happy that everything costs more, including your health insurance? It's time for us to take our state back. Now, you might say, haven't y'all been in power for like the past 30 years? And to that, I'd say, shut up. I'm Bill Butts, running for Texas Attorney General. So if you want your kids to grow up straight, white, and Christian, vote for me. They might be closeted gays, but it's worked out for me, okay? I'm on my 6th wife. She just found my grinder. Sneaky bitch. Anyways, I'm endorsed by Donald Trump and mayonnaise. Vote Texas. Vote Bill Butts. Are you sick of transgender migrants?
Vote for Bill Butts, sneaky bitch. That sneaky bitch.
Socialism is gay. It's also somehow Muslim. If you don't want to be a gay Muslim, you got to vote for me. Charles Chuhorse, running for State House Representative 3519. I approve this message. Socialism. Hello, my fellow patriots. I just got done playing 18 holes, and I'm here to talk to you. Because I don't want to play 18 holes on my company's dime. I want to play 18 holes on your dime. My opponent in this race, James Talafrico, apparently doesn't eat meat. He's also apparently a woman, secretly. That's what I heard. I think it's time James shows us what's inside his pants. He supports capitalism, but with better social safety nets and forcing corporations and billionaires to pay their fair share of taxes. To me, that sounds a lot like communism. You might ask me, what platforms am I running on? What are my policy positions? And to that I might say, why the hell would you ask me something like that, you son of a bitch? I don't know about you, but I'm super sick of these bisexual Bolivian migrants sneaking into my house, turning the lights off while I'm in the shower. I'm gonna put an end to that. It's my promise to you that I will vote with President Trump 150% of the time. As soon as that man asks for something, I'm dropping to my knees and I'm getting to work. I will push for an extreme anti-gay agenda. Reason being is one time I played Spin the Bottle in 8th grade, and it was one of those games where you had to kiss whoever the bottle landed on, regardless if it was a guy or a girl. Well, mine landed on a guy. His name was Tommy. We started kissing, and it got passionate real fast, and it started to feel real nice, like I was feeling something for the first time. No, my opponent, he preaches all the teachings of Christ. He doesn't just pick and choose the ones that make us hate other people. I'm Topher Tippins from Haslett, Texas, where I currently reside with my ex-wife, 3 stepchildren, and 2 biological children. I'm running to be your next U.S. Senator from Texas. I currently hold endorsements from the 2 best ices there are, Vanilla and Natty. Remember, vote Topher for Texas. Vote for country. Vote for faith. Also, on top of not liking gay people, I'm not a big fan of trans people, all right? I feel like I could get confused there real fast. I approve this message. Hello, my fellow patriots. I just got done playing 18 holes.
Oh, pretty funny. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for listening to me, bitch. Learning something, whatever. I appreciate it. Support the show. It's that time of the month. Time to pay the fucking rent and bills and everything. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you about the next one. Have a good night. Let me see, bye. I think with the steroids, as long as it doesn't bounce back post steroids, I'm doing all right with the poison ivy now.
You don't have to call out the people on this planet.
Hope so.
And tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the fucking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshiping.
Her ear's good.
Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shit.
Basically gone.
Just like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your Huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. This is my mom's an alcoholic. Give me a... Oh my God. Damn it. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking, he was doing so well. It's all over, hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They rework and copy on Cox that came first. 9th inning, 2nd string, and they acting like they know hitters. Assholes throwing bullshit shit and runs to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience, it's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby eating heathens. Believing in reason with no meaning is bullshit. Will Bird motherfuckers out here busting the grifts. Here we go, I think
Good night, guys.
shit. This is